Hello, sorry about that, guys. I was on mute. Thank you, Doug, for letting me know. Doug is backstage. Let's bring him out. Multi-award-winning author of The Heron's Labyrinth. Come join us.
All right. Ritra, I was like panicking. I'm like, why can't I get my sound to work? And I was doing all these things and
sorry.
Whoo, thank goodness.
It's a live show, everybody. That's what
I felt
happened.
like TK421.
Like, hey. Oh my goodness. So how are you today?
Excellent. How are you doing?
I am great. I see you have a t-shirt on that is ready for the moment. There you go. And I am just super happy that a lot of you guys are here in the chat hanging out with us today. And this is also simulcasting on X as well. So hi to everybody on X. And yes, so we, of course, right away, we've got DJ Knight in the house. Says, can't wait. So glad that you're here. Just awesome to see you. The Outcast Creative Lance left a message, says, have a good stream, Retro. Have such great memories of seeing this film on multiple occasions in its UK release in 1978.
Oh, it took an extra year.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. Charles Radcliffe. Oh my goodness, so good to see you as well. I'll be a little late, but I'll be there. Okay. All right. All right. And let's see. Sherry Lee's here. Hello, Sherry Lee. It's so good to see you. Visiting with Douglas and family. So I'll be watching from the dining room while he's watching from his office. And he sends a really big wave over there. And so, and Sherry also says, so many great memories with this movie. Yes, we're going to talk about memories for sure. And while we're kind of going through before we even get to the movie. So get ready for that. And I urge every single one of you that if you have memories attached to this movie, whether you're watching live or if you're watching in the replay, definitely let us know some of your memories. Yeah. I did a poll on Wednesday, and it was really incredible how many people really responded to that poll and left really great responses. So thank you to everybody who participated in the poll. And if you haven't, go ahead and later on today, if you get a chance, go to the community tab and check out that poll, and definitely leave your comments and of course your memories there too. I love hearing people's wonderful memories about this movie. I don't feel so alone anymore. And let's see. DJ Knight says, I have this movie on DVD. And I don't have it on DVD. And I used to have a VHS of it, but that was lost over time. And Sherry Lee says, yes, I have the VHS versions as well. That's awesome. Yeah, you got to have the staples, and you got to have at least one physical media of it. I have a copy, but unfortunately it's digital, and I am building my digital my actual physical media, so that is on my list. Jack is here. How are you? Says belated Happy New Year from Texas. Saw Star Wars twice in the summer of '77. This film, this is the film that started it all. It did, right?
100%.
Yeah, and what a film. The hero's journey, rescuing a princess and a dark fortress. Yes.
Oh yeah.
That being the Death Star, which I didn't realize that it was the Death Star until much later. I guess I was I just thought it was a ship, and then I was like, oh, remember it's the Death Star. That's no moon. That was one of my favorite lines too. And Bonzo Kilborn is here. Hello, Bonzo. How are you? So great to see you. Says, now this is the way to start off the year with a Retro Nerd Girl and a chat watching a classic. Yes. So we are going to have so much fun today. I can't wait. I love that we get to share this time together.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, everyone, there's all these watch parties out there and, which are all great. They're great watch parties. It's fun to cover some of the obscure movies or, movies that are great that, on the wide range of the spectrum. But for some reason, nobody ever actually just did Star Wars. So, like the bigs. So this was fantastic.
Oh, I'm just going for it this year, and hopefully I'll get to do some of the more obscure movies later. But I was like, you know what? I never did tackle Star Wars, the original series, and I think it's so important for film history to really recognize those films. And also, I did throw in the mix today Terminator 1 and 2 as the next series of movies that I'll be doing after the original trilogy. So I'm excited for 2025, guys. Let's do it.
That's awesome.
Danny Staten is here. It says greetings from South Carolina. Awesome to see you here. How are you doing? I hope all is well. And says also Happy New Year to all. Thank you so much. You're just amazing. And we got, who's this guy?
Who is that joker?
It's really, oh wow, look, this is really high compliments, okay?
Wow, that is awesome.
Yes. Oh my God, I'm kind of jealous there. That's a great one. And Sunny Minton says, because it says 1977, I so wanted to give the current official restoration found.
Wow.
Well, yeah, the official one, I mean, I don't even know if you can even try to get it anywhere. But it's what I grew up with, and it's kind of weird to see all of the newer things in Star Wars, but I can't find it. I think my mom still has the VHS tape though of the older one. If you can find a VHS player somewhere.
I really wish they had the original cut at least available to watch if you want to watch it.
Yes.
I was again in the mid 90s, or it's like 1997. I think they did the special editions, and I was like mostly against that when it came out, and I thought after watching them that there were some scenes I really, really liked that they added, like the famous one of all the X-Wings approaching the Death Star, where you can see the heads and the helmets moving around in the cockpit. I was like, oh, that's cool. Or the scene where the Falcon comes up out of Mos Eisley and shoots off. So there was definitely some cool stuff in there.
Yes.
But I remember not liking it that they did this. However, I will say that the special editions completely revitalized public interest in Star Wars. It became an event to go see these special editions, and it really paved the way and showed that the pent-up demand for Star Wars, and that led right into the prequels. So you really had this revitalized Star Wars world. And what's interesting is the millennial generation really grabbed a hold of Star Wars because of the hysteria over the special editions, and then all the public excitement over the prequels. So whether you liked it or not, it did revitalize the franchise, and not by a little bit, but like total revitalization, which I still feel like we're riding that wave today. So hopefully Lucasfilm can get their act together and do Star Wars right. And if they can revitalize it for the next generation.
Yes. At least give us some more things that feel like the classic Star Wars, and I feel like there are some corrections or some changes that seem like they feel like they're going in that direction. So I'm not too critical of them as most people, but I think there are some pretty terrible things that
there is. I will say
we won't mention them at this point because
I will say Skeleton Crew is good Star Wars. My kids and I have watched it. My kids actually really like it. Like before, I felt like The Mandalorian. My kids came out to watch it because Dad got excited.
That was so good.
Right, but now they like Skeleton Crew. It's for them, and they both my 12-year-old, who's more of a sports bro, he loves it. And my 9-year-old, who is like my little movie buddy,
so
he loves it too. So we've watched the episodes twice now. So if you're on the fence about Star Wars Skeleton Crew, you don't have to be. You can turn it on and you'll enjoy it. It's good Star Wars.
All right. And Sunny Mitten is here and says, go watch the 4K 77 if you want the original cut. Oh, really? Oh, I
Okay.
didn't know that was available. And thank you for letting us know, Sunny Mitten. And welcome to the channel chat area. I haven't seen you there. So thank you for
Awesome.
giving us all that. And also has more information. First, I want to say hi to Aylesworth. Hi, Aylesworth. Great to see you. And
3,720 to 1.
Really great.
Never tell me the odds.
Great C3PO line there. And Sunnyman also says Disney was actually a 2011 special edition cut, meaning if you want the original cut, 4K 777, it's the restoration cut you seek. It's on the Internet Archive.
Okay.
Ooh, guess what I'm
Awesome.
doing later. Thank you, Sunnyman. You're so knowledgeable about this. We need you around here more often around these parts. And it can have or not have the digital noise removal or DNR if you want the OG film accuracy. DNR if you want some clarity. Okay. Yes.
Wow, that's strong commentary there. That's great stuff, Sunny Mitten.
Thank you. I'm sure a lot of people will be, typing away on my computer to like, okay, how do we get this? And thank you so much. And Keith E says, Hooper has been working on the Hallmark Labyrinth. It explains Hallmark movies.
Amazing. That's awesome.
It does. I see your response. Oh my goodness. Swift -1 is here. Hi, Swifty. Matt G in the house. So good to see you. And Jack says, remember buying the double album soundtrack the day after and listening to it a million times. John Williams rules. Thank you.
Oh my
yes.
God. I remember my dad had, back then it was, really, although cassettes were kind of coming into style, the LP, the vinyl records were still, the mode of choice for young baby boomer parents. And I remember my dad had this stack of albums in the closet. We had a closet right off the living room there where the record player was. And I remember playing hide and seek. And I was hiding right in front of the stack of records. And it was the back of the Star Wars LP, which is this like black and white face of like Darth Vader. And I remember just staring at this and it's like etched itself in my brain, man.
That is so awesome. And yes, Sherry Lee agrees. John Williams rocks. And Stunt Brad is here. Oh, hi, Stunt Brad.
What's up, Stunt Brad?
My sweet retro girl. Jedi hugs. Yay, chill stream with Douglas.
That's how we feel with you guys. Like, yay, a chill stream with Stunt Brad.
Yes. And let's see. Let's keep going. Oh, Sunny Minton has some more really awesome stuff to say. So 4K 77 is on the Internet Archive, so we already got the original cut available for download. If only Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi were there, they're in despecialized. Okay.
Wow, I see it. The Star Wars Project 4K 77. Wow, that's great.
So nice. So good. So good. And DJ Nice is sitting with Doug.
Oh,
so
awesome.
you have company. You have some company, right?
Awesome.
Oh my goodness. And it's wearing their t-shirt as well. So great.
Oh, cool.
Even has more. Says to get 4K 7 on the Internet Archive, you can go install a file with out DNR due to it being 4K. It takes a bit after it's already play.
That's a link to something I found. I just put it in the chat. If you're
okay.
if you're curious.
Okay, and the drunk review is here. Hello, so good to see you. Hope you're doing well and nursing any possible hangovers you might have. But it says, "Happy Saturday, Retro. Always great show. Thank you so much." And it says, "Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, and Happy
Awesome.
New Year to everybody."
To
If we
everyone,
haven't,
yes.
yes, Happy New Year. I hope you're gonna kill it this year and just do all the wonderful things you want to do, and that's going to be amazing. And Bonzo Kilburn is Alan's record player. What are these things in which you speak? I know.
These strange archaic devices, if you will.
Yeah. Back
Music
in my
stored on a
day.
disc.
Yeah. We feel, really feel like you're part of something. You could either take it many ways, but I always feel it like as if it was a privilege to know about this stuff. And like, I'm still learning things about the past and retro things that existed when I was a kid, and I didn't even realize that they were around.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yes, and Keith E is telling everybody hello, and was finishing up dinner and now reading the chat. Yes, so good that you're here and watching over everything. He's my general. And ready to take care of things in the chat if necessary.
Hey, and Stunt Brad, I was thinking about you just yesterday. I was putting together some of my favorite movies and things of the year, and I realized that one of my favorite films of the whole year is The Fall Guy, which is an entire movie that's about the stuntman. The overlooked or underappreciated stuntman and how valuable they are. Anyway, I love that movie, and I was just curious to see what you thought about it. If you just let me know if it's a thumbs up or thumbs down for you, I'd be curious. Anyway,
good.
sorry, Retro. I just was thinking about that yesterday.
Okay, and and I'm not sure what those numbers are, but let's see.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and let's see. Jack says, also read the novelization that summer. Ooh,
Oh, cool.
which spoiler explained the rise of Emperor Palpatine. Oh, ooh, I might need to get this book just for
That's
for
awesome.
yeah, and just for the backstory. I mean, that alone, that's going to be amazing. And DJ Knight says, I've seen the movies on Disney Plus. Yes, you can. If you have Disney Plus, you can head over there, and that is great. Let's see. Anymore. I'm going to zoom. It looks like I'm getting caught up in the messages. I'm trying to get to as many as possible. Jack says also read the. Oh yeah. I think I read that one already. Sorry about that, guys.
What's up, BGD?
Oh, BGD is in the house. Oh my goodness. Hi, BGD. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, guys. And Chuck Review says, Retro's still a little hungover. Yeah,
I
that
would hope
tends to
so.
happen. Yeah, that tends to happen sometimes. And okay, so we've caught up with the chat, and we're ready to begin the process of talking about the movie. Now, for myself, this is the movie that definitely solidified the idea that I was really into sci-fi. This was the one I was like, oh, this is the genre I love. That was it when I saw this. I was 7 years old. I it's a kind of a long story, but I was separated from my family, and I lived in another, like, in Trinidad and Tobago for a long time.
Oh,
And so,
wow.
yeah, for like 5 years. And so one of the things that we did we first did when I got to back here was go to movies a lot with my mom. And this was the first one that I remember seeing with my mom. And it was really like like I have never seen anything like this before in my life. And it just blew my mind. It was so exciting too. It was so exciting and so much fun. And we did get some paraphernalia when we left. So there was like a show book where they showed you all of the, it was like a glossy book where they just showed you all of the pictures of the characters and just things to remind you of the movie. And so I actually got, my mom got that for me, which is, we didn't have a lot of money, so that was really sweet of her to do that. And I just destroyed that book over the years, looking through the pages and just like absorbing everything I could. Like as far as like toys, I was never able to get a whole bunch of toys and all of the things to go with the movie, but I had that book, and it had so many, it filled my mind with so many ideas of the future and space travel and science fiction, and fed that love of science fiction. It was also another movie that my mom and I could enjoy together. So there was a special feeling of connection and love in the family when we sat down to watch Star Wars. And
Wow.
it's just one of those things that one of I wouldn't say my first movie experience, but definitely one of the first big movie experiences that had a huge impact on my life. And that was really a little story that I would share. I don't usually share that in stuff very often, but that was really a sweet moment for me in my life. Now, Doug, tell me what your first experience watching this movie.
So Doug here was born in 1976. So I, but I had never been to a movie theater until Star Wars. So
Oh.
my dad took me, he wanted to see it. And he's like, I don't care if you're 18 months old, you're going to this movie. And so the first time I was ever in a theater trying to watch a movie was officially Star Wars: A New Hope. And according to my father, I was really good through the first half and a little fussy on the second half.
Oh,
So I don't remember it. I don't have too many 18-month-old memories. But
so sweet.
when Empire Strikes Back came out, so like I
Ooh.
said, the memories I have are like these, the real hazy childhood memories of like
Hmm.
the record in the closet of this menacing face in black and white in space staring at you. It's Darth Vader. And I
Yes.
remember just being freaked out. I was like, man, I don't know who this guy is, but I don't like this guy looks dangerous. My dad would also blast Star Wars soundtrack music on the vinyl LPs in the living room.
Ooh.
So, and he got into it. And so I had at some point memorized a lot of the music. So by the time 1980 came around, I do have memories of seeing Empire Strikes Back and
Yeah.
discussing it. And one of the first times I really enjoyed a discussion with the idea of talking about movies, that
Ooh.
it's worth a serious discussion, was with
Yes.
my father and his college roommate, actually, a gentleman by the name of Michael Polis, who went on to become an official movie reviewer for a newspaper up in the Chicago area.
Oh,
And
wow.
him and Mike Polis were talking about Empire Strikes Back. And of course, they looped me in. And it kind of shocked me that this cool sci-fi movie is something that's like meriting discussion between adults.
Yeah.
As a child, you're going back and forth. It's like watching a tennis match. And I'm like, man, they're really worried about, Vader, and they're really discussing Luke, like they're real people. And it really created in my mind what I would believe
Oh,
is a tradition. The idea of really internalizing a film and then unpacking it and asking yourself, what does it mean? What does it mean, that he turned off his targeting computer? What does that mean? Why would he turn that off? It's a guaranteed shot, right?
yes.
Except that the last guy who used it, negative, just impacted on the surface.
Yeah.
What it means to use the force, to trust yourself, your gut, your instincts. What it means to fight good versus evil, the Death Star. And so all of these things, Star Wars in a huge way shaped who I am, my love of storytelling, the good guys and the bad guys, what heroic deeds look like. And then, of course, the excitement. We
Oh, yeah.
forget, but the idea of, and I'll get into this at some point, but the speed that George
Yes.
Lucas captured.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
we're going in full throttle, and they show the
Yeah.
X-wing, twisting, like a Ralph McQuarrie picture, spiraling toward the Death Star. They're evading all of these turbo lasers, and they dive into that trench and that famous shot, and then they're going at full speed down the. There's nothing like it. There was nothing like Star Wars,
Yes.
and I could safely say that even here in 2025, there's so few movies that are as special and as impactful culturally, personally, even spiritually. You can add in that dimension than Star Wars.
Yes.
So it's one of the most significant films, I would say, of my life, my generation. I would say it's one of the most significant films of the baby boomer generation. And I would say that this film has stood the test of time way beyond what anyone could have conceived the film doing in terms of the cultural impact, not just locally here in our own culture, but globally. Yes. So just great stuff.
Yes, I absolutely agree. It's so interesting. Yeah, it seems like every single generation after that has been impacted by this movie. So, and 1977, it started all then.
Well, and I'm an 80s child, right? And I'm a pure latchkey kid. My parents both worked. I came home by myself. I walked to and from school. But I am the prototypical child of the 80s, and I loved all those movies in the 80s. But what's weird is I've really been getting in touch with my 70s roots. I was born in 76. I remember disco music blasting through the speakers. I remember, as a child, to my horror, walking in on my parents' disco dancing one time. I was like, what the hell? What is that? What are you guys doing? So, but I've been getting in touch with my 70s roots, specifically with movies. And I don't think it can be understated how many of the great film franchises of the 80s had their roots in the 1970s. Star Wars being one of them. You have Alien, which launched the Aliens franchise. You had Star Trek 1, the motion picture, which launched the 80s Star Trek movement. And of course, you have Star Wars. It's a product of the 70s. So I'm very proud of my Star Wars 70s roots, and I hope all of you are as well.
Yes. Even if it's before your time.
Yes. Even if it's before your time.
Yeah, I am a big proponent of going back, and I've been discovering a lot of 70s films that are just amazing, and they're fantastic. I just wanted to approach this. This was one of your questions you had about the Fall Guy. And Stuntbrat says, I like the Fall Guy, but would never do the huge stunts like that on the same day. Oh, that they feature in the movie. Okay. And the open dialogue between him and the female director was laughable.
Okay. That's great. Thank you, Stuntbrat. You were on my mind watching it because it's such a great movie. And I do think the spirit of the film is meant to honor the stunt people of the industry, people like yourself. So I was just curious if you enjoyed the movie as much as I did.
Yeah, I love that. We need a little segment for Stuntbrat to review movies.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
And Don Fonzo Kilborn says the first movie I ever saw in a theater, a re-release a few months before the Return of the Jedi.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Return of the Jedi too. I remember, you have these weird random memories. A movie called Blue Thunder was released, I think the same week or the same whatever as Return of the Jedi. And, poor them, right? Who wants to release their film on the same day as like Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi? I mean, you're just not trying to compete at that point. But I remember we got to the theater, and back then it wasn't like you could order tickets online. You went to the theater and hoped there was a ticket.
Yes.
So if they were sold out, you were told that they're sold out. And that's exactly what happened. I remember we got our uncles and my cousins. We all went to go see Return of the Jedi, and we're like, okay, let's go. We're like walking up, and this dude was holding this door open. He's like, Return of the Jedi sold out. Come on, see Blue Thunder. Blue Thunder. So for whatever reason, I always remember freaking Blue Thunder being like the one alternative people had.
Yeah, which I haven't seen yet. I know, and that people have said that that's actually a good movie. It's just I
I
have
haven't
not
seen it.
seen it yet. So, and that I need to do that. Dead Man Walking 55 is here. Oh my goodness, how are you? Says Happy New Year to Retro Nerd Girl. I wish I could stay, but family now. But love the original Star Wars and the memories. Of course, yes, of course, the memories are just so much. That really like hit you in the heart when you remember your favorite movies and when you saw them. And Dead Man Walking had an epic New Year celebration. Both him and Mrs. Dead Man Walking. So it was epic. And I didn't get to actually like go through the whole thing, but I spent like an hour after my own little shindig to kind of sit back and
Oh,
watch.
cool.
Yeah, and somebody says, "Wow, retro going from Trinidad and seeing Star Wars in a theater was epic. Like the first time I saw The Wizard of Oz in color. Oh wow, that is awesome." And oh, thank you so much, Keith E. I forget always to do this. Says remember to like and subscribe, support the channel, and also.
Yes.
If you like what you're seeing here and like the topics we're talking about, do share us out to your social medias and let people know about the content. That will help out the channel a lot. And BG says, I still have my original New Hope Kenner figures. Oh my God. What?
Snaggletooth.
And says, including the tall snaggletooth exclusive from the Sears Christmas wish book that winter. Oh my God. I'm so jealous in a good
there was
way.
nothing like going to Toys R Us and going down that aisle because they'd be all over those pegs and picking out the next Star Wars figure for your collection. I had the Darth Vader case that you opened up and the C-3PO case that you opened up. I had all the Star Wars figures. And my mom, Sherry, she would paint the bottom left foot with nail polish. So there was these pegs in the bottom feet so you could stand them up on things. She would paint the bottom foot with nail polish to mark them as Doug's Star Wars figures. And I think I was 18 years old, like almost 2 decades later. I was at my friend's house and he was showing me his Star Wars collection. And I was holding up Bespin Luke from Empire Strikes Back. And he had nail polish on his foot. I was like, hey, this is mine. This is my Star Wars figure, sir. And he's like, no, that's mine. He's like, I'm like, no, this has nail polish on the butt. You don't understand. Only my mom did this. So there's no question. It's 100%. So as an adult, that 6-year-old comes up, this is my Star Wars figure. Like immediately.
Very, very cool. Oh my goodness.
Thanks, Mom. I got Luke back, if you're listening. Because of your actions. Oh man.
Oh my God. And okay, so we're gonna zoom down just a little because we got to get this going. I don't.
Charles Radcliffe is here.
Who? Yes, Charles Radcliffe. Here you go. Thank you so much. Yes. All right. So we've got to start getting ready for this because after this show, we are going to head over to Lorena Creole's channel and we're going to watch The Matrix 1999. This is one heck of a day. It's going to be, yes, we're doing
New Hope and The Matrix.
I mean, in one day, like 2 mind-blowing films. I mean, if you're going to hang out with us for the whole day, it's going to be great. So let me just get a couple of things together. I'm keying up my version of the movie. And if you are keying up yours, if you're using VHS, you'll have to let it play a little bit because I think there's some warnings and things that let's see.
Like tobacco, this contains depictions. It's like, shut up, it's Star Wars, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They might have some warnings or some like the FBI thing.
I hope they warn about the discrimination against droids. They don't serve their kind in that bar. That should be a warning.
That will be probably that's coming up. That's coming up.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I don't mind the warning so much. I just, as long as they don't mess with the actual content, I'm fine. You could throw up whatever warnings you want, but as long as they don't mess with or change the actual film,
Right.
and try to
That's a
edit
good point.
things out, oh, that's where I draw the line.
Like the walkie-talkies for ET.
Yes, that's really terrible. I know that Steven Spielberg, I believe he wanted to change that, which that's
He
fine.
recanted. He put it all back. He's like, that was a mistake. Shouldn't have done it. So he's on your side on that argument. Yeah, definitely don't mess with the films. I think I don't necessarily mind some warnings, but sometimes when they're like, this depicts like tobacco, and then I hate warnings that I have to think about, and then when I finally realize what they're talking about, I'm like, oh, what? That's what I don't like.
That's like every
Ewok smoking a pipe that you have to warn me about that, really?
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's pretty much like every film before the 80s. So it's crazy. And even the 90s, so you'll have to really go back far. But just to talk about the film a little bit in case we have any people who have never seen the movie before. This is Star Wars A New Hope, episode 4, which is an epic space opera written and directed by George Lucas, produced by Lucasfilm, which he created for this movie in order to create the special effects and everything we're seeing on screen. And it was distributed by 20th Century Fox, and it stars Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Peter Cushing, Alec Guinness, Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, Peter Mayhew, and David Prowse, as well as James Earl Jones, the voice of James Earl Jones for Darth Vader, who unfortunately we lost in 2024.
Yeah, we lost David Prowse several years ago, and we lost James Earl Jones last year. That was a heartbreaking one. And quite honestly, I just think, and maybe they're not underappreciated, but the combination of David Prowse's size and physicality in the body language of Darth Vader, matched with James Earl Jones's incredible and unique and menacing voice. It's one of the greatest combinations of acting in history.
Yes.
I mean, to put together Darth Vader.
Absolutely. Enthusiastically, I will say yes. It is one of the things. And Alice Ellsworth says, come on, nobody's never seen this. I hope though, actually, I talked to a girl I once worked with, and she said her family didn't allow her to watch movies, and so
because it contained depictions of tobacco.
Yes, probably. And so she never did see Star Wars, which was very unique to me. I was like, my jaw was on the floor. Yes, this is how coveted your collection was, that the neighborhood kids were smuggling Star Wars characters.
I was like smog, just sitting on top of my pile of Star Wars characters.
They're like, he has so many. Why?
I had all of them.
He wouldn't miss just one.
Yeah, exactly.
And let's see. Oh, and thank you so much. Keith E says, when she takes a breath, yell, banner, banner, banner.
Banner.
Yes, we're going to begin the process. I might as well throw on the banner for today.
The best banner ever.
So the way it works, everyone, if this is your first time, you have your copy and I have my copy, and we're going to watch our copies together. We're going to use a timer to help us. We're also going to use a visual aid with closed captioning to help us to stay together during the whole process. And if you are so inclined, hey, I don't have a copy, you could also watch the closed captioning and follow the movie that way. It's still a lot of fun, and that's kind of why we kind of came up with that idea. It just seems like a great way for you to still enjoy the movie if you didn't have access to it. And
Awesome.
yes, and so let me get also my copy geared up and ready for action. Give me one moment.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
was saying how much I was getting into my 70s roots as a child of the 80s.
oh, yes.
One of the most exciting things that I have found out, and this is where retro and I have crossed over so well, is I found out that my 70s roots, the men and women who created these films in the
Mm,
70s that
mhm.
launched pretty much modern Hollywood, the franchise, had their roots in the 1950s and 60s.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
so it's been fun to go back to the 1950s and 60s to see what they were watching that inspired them so much. And it goes even beyond that. We were talking about Stagecoach and The Mask of Zorro and some of these other things that influence like Indiana Jones. We'll talk about Flash Gordon here in a second with Star
yes,
Wars. Like there's so much that goes back even further that inspired what I would call the late baby boomer generation, the George Lucas generation,
yes.
to redefine, to remake Hollywood in their image, basically.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, and so we are going to cover all of that and talk. We're going to talk a lot during this, so do be aware of that. That we're going to be like yapping all through the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
And the drunk review says Douglas Aburn. Now I'm going to be looking at Star Wars figures for now.
Drunk review. I hope there's going to be a day where you're like, this is Douglas A. Burton Star Wars figure. You let me know if someone's got one of my figures out there. They're out there somewhere.
Doug is totally a nice guy until he finds out you've stolen one of his figures. He's like, what is
You have failed me for the last
last
time. Oh man.
and BGD says we need a hidden fortress watch party, and absolutely that is
That's
one
a
of
great
the
idea.
inspired. Yeah,
Retro.
that's one of the movies that inspired this movie, which is really great and which really highlights the two what you call insignificant characters, and here we get, especially in the beginning, a little feature of the two sort of insignificant robot characters, but they really are like super,
Well,
super
and it's a
important.
storytelling technique
Mhm.
to have side characters walk into epic events. So
Yeah,
it's an
yeah,
actual technique, and Hidden Fortress used it to great aplomb for George Lucas when he saw it, and he decided that was the technique he wanted to follow. And what's interesting is people say he ripped off so many things. It's not ripping off. You are inspired. A creative person is inspired by
yes,
so many
yes.
things that crystallize inside you and stimulate your creative impulses. And when you start to write, you can't help but pull from somewhere
You
a
have
lot of
to.
these
We all
influences.
do it every day, even up to
It's
like,
not stealing. Stealing is when you're way too close to the mark. When you haven't, when you see Hidden Fortress, you might see the similarities, but there's no way that you could say that it was ripped off. And Star Wars
yeah.
is so its own thing.
Yeah, and I think there's a fine I really despise, and if I despise anything would be that whole like, rip off comments, because sometimes when when you're thinking about even language, I always go back to language. Like the language we use is basically built on everyone we've ever heard in our entire life. Let's say I come up with a new word like dizzy wizzy, and all of a sudden everybody's like, "Whoa, I'm gonna add that to my lexicon as well." It's like it's not stealing. It's just because we're humans, we like to build upon each other's ideas and
Yeah.
what we've seen and what we've done. So from now on, everybody said, "Wizzy wizzy."
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's get it
Wizzy.
launched out there.
Let's do
And yeah,
it.
no,
Wizzy
you're right.
wizzy style.
Star Trek inspired George Lucas. Flash Gordon inspired George Lucas.
Lots of
We had a good discussion on Retro's channel about The Thing and War of the Worlds, how that
mm,
recrystallized to form the Battle of Hoth. I mean, there's
yes,
just so many influences. That's just how creativity works. It's
yes,
just
yes,
how it works. From the first guy that slapped his hand on a cave wall with paint
yes,
to the modern filmmaker today, we are all building off of each other and taking the things that excited us and remaking them in our own view. So that is the creative process, and we are all rewarded for it.
Yes, and yes, so many influences, and BG says cinematography. I can't. Of course, I have trouble saying that word. Lucas scribed the composition of quite a few of opening scenes in The New Hope. The Hidden Fortress is not a ripoff, but a very clever abstraction and imaging. And I think using so
Reimagining.
many reimagining, thank you, using so many different sources or influences really makes it unique. And the question at the end of the day, at all of this, is like, did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the content? Did you like the movie? Did it excite you? Did you feel great about it? And let's stick with that feeling and not the other weird things.
Right. Well,
You know?
creativity requires inspiration. Inspiration is one of the fundamental, if not the foundational emotion that starts with all of us creatives know. Once you start a project, you will have the misery of trying to complete it. But it does start with inspiration, and inspiration comes from excitement. So
Yeah.
you are definitely going to draw upon things that excited you, that moved you in some way. You might watch Star Trek and be moved by the conversation, the philosophical debate, and be like, I would love if my characters cared enough about an idea that they debated it passionately in my story, or like Hidden Fortress or the Kung Fu lore. All these things that you could draw upon that excite you.
Yeah.
So you're not ripping off. You are inspired by these things, and hopefully you can take these things and bring it into your story. I'll even say that book right there. How can I do it? Right there, Faraway Bird. I actually drew inspiration from Return of the Jedi with Luke Skywalker for my in the climax with she's a Byzantine empress. She's a real historical figure, and yet her climactic moment mirrors Luke Skywalker's. And unless I told you, you might not ever notice that. But these things are repeated like this. You just have to do it in your unique way. It's probably worth even mentioning one of the biggest ripoffs of all time, Nosferatu. Was a complete ripoff of Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's relevant because Nosferatu's out at the theaters.
Yes,
they just changed the name from Dracula to Orlok, and and now it is in and of itself its own classic, even though it was almost a complete ripoff. So you could still create something unique. I think the idea is be creative, be as creative as possible.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And with that, we're going to begin watching the movie.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope you guys have your your clickers ready and your fingers on the button. And let me just get this going. All right. So I have a timer here that is going to be placed right here behind me. So just in case you need a reference, but we'll also have the visual reference for you as well. So I'm going to count down from 5 to 1, and right after 1, we're going to hit play and start this puppy up. All right, so is everybody ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play.
I've got mine set right when Star Wars pops up, so I'm going to try to cue it there.
Okay. Oh, okay. I think I'm exactly right. I'm just double checking. Oh, I'm maybe like 2 seconds ahead.
Here we go. And the opening scroll, this was conceived originally based on Flash Gordon, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, Flash Gordon. I'm a big fan of Flash Gordon, so this was such a treat to see.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, George Lucas's original plan was to buy the rights to Flash Gordon and remake Flash Gordon in a modern style, and using modern film techniques. And he was denied. He couldn't do it. So he decided to make his own Flash Gordon Luke Skywalker, who, Luke Starkiller, I think was his original name. So this was originally an attempt to recreate a new version of Flash Gordon. And of course, by now, this is the superior story.
Yes.
And restore freedom to the galaxy. What a great opening, right?
Yes. So good. I mean, even though you have to do a bit of reading, this is very unique, and it still gives me a special feeling when I see it.
Oh yeah. And folks, this is how you open a movie, with conflict.
Oh, yeah.
Conflict. Remember, for storytellers around the world, conflict. That's why when they came out with those stories called the High Republic, I was like, this is not going to work because there's no conflict, no inherent. This doesn't give you that space. This is like, we have a conflict and there's clearly a David and there's a Goliath here. And this is menacing, right?
Yes.
These aren't the sleek, shiny starships from the Flash. These are big, bruising, that look functional starships. They seem to be moving at a believable speed. The sound of the lasers is a new sound. It's not a zingy sound that you would have heard from the old 60s movies. That there's a splatter sound to these lasers that it's completely revolutionized the sound of what a laser would sound like when being fired.
Oh, yes.
Right? Watch a the black hole. You get those whizzoo. It just sounds funny. It doesn't even sound real to me because this is how a laser sounds to me, right? Star Wars.
Yeah.
Splat, splat.
We're doomed.
You're right. So, and this is your Hidden Fortress tie-in. These seemingly insignificant characters who are not great warriors or anything like that, caught in the middle of this intense conflict.
Yes. One thing I wanted to point out is that C-3PO is an excellent liar. And I'll tell you when later, but here he says, oh, the princess will not be getting out of this one this time. Meaning he knows who the princess is. And later on, he pretends he doesn't know her.
Oh, okay.
Like, oh,
interesting.
Yeah.
There'll be no escape for the princess this time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is pretty intense. This is a forced boarding, almost like in a nautical sense, where you board the ship. You grab your cutlass and your hook, and you board the ship after you've captured it. It's a very intense thing. And you see that the rebels are getting pushed back in their own hallway.
Yeah.
Smoky, and also the white hallways. I think that was a new look for
sci-fi. Yeah, definitely.
Like sci-fi.
Usually they would have gone with like a metal wall,
silver, chrome.
Yeah.
And that's hysterical. They just walk right through all that.
Yes, it's right through the battle. Like, it's like,
and then this, what an introduction to your villain, right? There's a live fire battle going on. This guy enters the battlefield calm, casual, doesn't say anything. It's like,
and mind you, the droids that he just built just whizzed past it within a second. He would have seen them.
Yeah. 3PO, is that you? And of course, and I've broken this down before, but here we have a heroine. Notice that we are starting Star Wars: A New Hope, which is a famous hero's journey story, with the plight of a heroine. Luke Skywalker has not been introduced, and she just gave the Death Star plans to a droid. And you have to understand what the Death Star plans are. Trillions of lives. That's what those are. Trillions of lives.
Yes.
She hands it over to a droid.
Yes.
Heroines do this all the time, by the way. They trust in randomness, sometimes chaotic natural forces. There's a certain thing that heroines do. They also entrust people or beings that may not be the most fierce of warriors. And the heroine's trust in those beings, those fragile powers, is almost always rewarded.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this is another great intro to a menacing character. If this is a counselor ship, where is the ambassador?
He's pissed.
Yeah, you know not to mess with this guy.
I want them alive. Like,
I always got a kick out of these guys
okay.
looking for their plans. Like, is it up there? Is it down there? She
She's
takes
like,
one down before she's captured.
yeah,
Yeah, and then here's these droids trying to make their escape, right?
yeah,
And it's funny, I noticed it. I watched the end of Rogue One the other day, and I like Rogue One. I like it a lot. In fact, the
mm,
second half of the movie to me is Star Wars. It's Star Wars.
yeah,
But I noticed when they get on the Tantive 5 after that incredible Darth Vader hallway scene, which I love, the Captain Antilles is in there and he's going to the bridge and he's like, ready the escape pods.
yeah.
So I appreciated that little. And I can't help when I see this scene think of Family Guy when he's like, hold your fire. There's no life forms aboard. On Family Guy, I think he goes, what are we paying by the laser now?
I know. Like, why are you saving on laser
Shoot it.
beams?
And here we have our captive princess, a timeless image in our minds, folks.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, by the way, guys, I don't have a way of seeing the chat, so I do have an auxiliary computer over here where I could take a look. And let's see.
Right. So you have to understand what Princess Leia did. She's a member. She's royalty, so she's got a lot to lose.
Yeah.
She's royalty. She's a member of the Galactic Senate, and she has turned against her native culture. She has turned against the government. You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
Yeah.
She has turned against her government
Yes.
in a revolutionary, highly dangerous, incredible risk to herself to try to take down the Empire. So I sometimes think that Princess Leia's contribution to this story may not be as valued as it may be undervalued. I think
so too.
it is her cause that we are all signing up for in this movie.
Yes.
I love all that. Like all of these lines are like buried in my deepest psyche from watching.
Yes. Who was it said? The drunk review says, I think I may have memorized every line in this film as a kid. Yes.
100%. And John Williams' score, you really redefined what a soundtrack could do for a film.
Yes. What I also loved about this film too, which is different from a lot of other sci-fi movies at the time and set it apart, is that every piece of machinery and character is weathered. Like even
Yes.
Darth Vader's helmet is filthy. It's got like fingerprints and it's got like soot and dirt all over it. C3PO is filthy. He's got all sorts of junk like like leaking and dripping off of
Right.
him.
Well,
And
that was
it's
one
great.
of
It just makes it look so tactile and so real and so like you wanted to be in this universe that's so strange and different because it looked real.
Yes. Well, one of George Lucas's complaints, because as a creative person, a lot of you have theories like, man, they should never do this when they make this film. How come they always make this mistake when they tell this story, right? You start to develop your own criticisms. One of George Lucas's criticisms was everything in sci-fi movies was shiny and new and like perfect.
Yes.
And he's like, that's just not how the world. He's like, look at my 1972 Chevy.
Mm-hmm.
It's already beat up, So his theory was that a futuristic world, a future sci-fi world should be lived in. It's called the lived-in universe. It has its own name now, and it is something that you're encouraged to consider when building your world. The weathering of the material world that you're living in. And so
look
you
at that
see
big creature over there. That's
the crate dragon. That's a crate dragon skeleton, and they brought it to life in Mandalorian, I think season.
Oh yeah.
3?
Oh yeah. Was it season 2 or 1?
Keith E just said, interesting. My house has a lived-in look. George
Yeah,
Lucas
mine
would
too.
approve of your house, Keith E.
Mine too. A very lived-in world.
That's the best response to that I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah.
Sean Brown says, I grew up with a VHS copy recorded from TV during the winter, and a severe weather warning came across the screen and beeped when the Jawas were talking with Owen. Watch that it does it. That's all, Sean. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, it is buried now in your psyche when the sounds of Owen's voice and the music, now you have that, that weather warning pop in. That's amazing. And by the way, this setting that R2 is on is the exact same setting at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark when they're carrying the Ark, and
Yeah.
Indiana Jones is like, "I'm gonna blow up the Ark, Renee." It's this valley right here. And here again, George Lucas's preference for the little creatures. These aren't ultra powerful warriors and Sith and Jedi. These are very small scavenger-like creatures capturing a droid. So he likes to incorporate what you would think of as the off the beaten, off the road characters. These aren't your epic. Some people even said that one of the possible problems with the prequels was the emphasis on elites over the working class, side characters of Star Wars. And I think that there might be some truth to that criticism.
Yeah.
You can work with elites. Like, you could tell stories about elites, but I think there is a certain type of conflict that you should focus on that is different than the working man who's called to great action.
Yeah. Man
or woman.
But I think also too that doesn't take you out of your world so much,
Right.
Whereas this is like these guys are really operating on a whole nother like way of life. We've never seen this way of life. We've never seen this way of life. It's like, oh my goodness, like
it is
alien.
Excuse me. This is a form of world building. You are showing a function. Excuse me, I had a little tickle. You're showing the way this world functions. Here we have scavengers who live in the desert, who have access to this highly technological sand crawler, they call it, which is the big Jawa thing, vehicle. So they have access to high technology, but ultimately they're just scavengers. They're on the bottom rung of this empty world, and they collect droids and technology that have been lost in the desert. They're like that old guy that swings that thing on the beach looking for coins and stuff. That's essentially what these things are. And because you understand that they serve a function, you automatically get a sense of a larger world that they're a part of. It's essential for world building to understand functionality like that.
They reunited.
It is you. It is you.
Oh man.
And I love the design of this sand crawler.
Oh,
the giant like tank treads and this big jutting nose.
See, like, this is just an eyesore for me, but I get it if it builds more for people to. I remember the practical ones that they had, which
they were in the background, right? Like far distance. They were more like that, right?
Yeah, and they were they were one of the interesting features I used to look at in that book I got from. I don't have it anymore, but from the feature book that I had. It was one of those monsters, and it was okay.
Banthas? Oh no, Dewback.
Dewback, is that what it's called?
Dewbacks,
And they were it was so great, all the work that was done, the craft to create that creature, and it's kind of glossed over with this CGI. You don't get to see the tactile work.
Some of the CGI I do like. Like, funny enough, I agree. I don't like too much of the CGI with the dewbacks in there, but I
Yeah.
like the next scene that shows the sandcrawler approaching the camera. That one I like.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's some that really work for me, but
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Well,
with you. There are some that I'm like, you probably could have, should have just left that.
yeah, yeah.
And by the way, Retro Rick Manelis jumped in to say hi, and then he'd be back in.
Rick! Oh, okay. Hi, Rick. Okay. Happy New Year listening on the way home. Looking forward to joining on later on. Oh, great. So good to see you, Rick.
You know, it's funny too. I remember there's a couple things that I regard as errors
Mm.
in Star Wars, that when he did the special edition, I was like, oh, surely he fixed these errors, and he didn't. So I was like, what? Like, there's a scene where R5, the red R5 droid, goes
Yes.
on up ahead, and then they cut, and R5 is still next to R2D2. So it's a continuity error. So I thought for sure. So, by the way, keep in mind, I want to point this out. Luke Skywalker, it's 17 minutes and 18 seconds in the film. We have just met Luke Skywalker. For a hero's journey story, it's very bizarre to introduce your hero 17 minutes into a 2-hour film,
Yes.
right? So,
yes.
What were we doing? We were engaged with Princess Leia. We came into the Star Wars universe on the wings of Princess Leia's cause, her great fight against the Empire. So my case is that there's a strong sense of a hero-centric story buried right here in A New Hope, which is also a hero's journey story, no question about it. So right there, you see R5 in the background, right? Uncle Owen.
He's like, all right, shut up. I'll take this one.
It's like a second language to me. I want to go to the Tashi station.
It becomes so covered. So cute.
And there are some deleted scenes in the Tashi station with Biggs and Tank.
Yes, I remember those. Yeah.
It's kind of cool. They're really choppy and there's no sound to them, but they're in this Tashi station. There's a girl there that's hanging out with them. Okay, so right here you see that R5 is going on up ahead. R5 is not standing next to R2.
R2 is like,
oh, well, I'll see you, buddy. R5 blows his motivator.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you trying to push on us?
He's like beeping all over the place. It's like, pick me, pick me, pick me.
I love the salesmanship. So right there, R5's in the background again. So I always got upset by that. I always was upset by that continuity error. And I thought surely Lucas would have fixed that if he had the ability, but he left that one in there. The other thing that always bothered me was in the trench run, there'd see an X-Wing and the X-Wing would pass right by you and there's nothing in the distance. There's nothing behind it. And I was like, oh, where's the TIE fighters? My childhood brain demanded the TIE fighters there. And those were never re-added.
Yeah.
And that's a T-16 model he's playing with. Just like that ship in the background right there. That's the T-16 in the background, the thruster.
Yeah. He's a fan. He's like a nerd, a nerdy collector.
He's one of us. One of us.
Luke was a nerd. Yay!
And Retro Gate of Marvel is in the chat.
Gate of Marvel. Oh my goodness. Hi. How are you? Welcome to the live stream. Because I do seem to remember the Toshi Station scene were part of the Behind the Magic software from the late 90s. Oh, okay, yes. I don't know. I remember seeing those scenes. Yeah, welcome. So great to see you. See how fast he jumped up when he found out about the Empire. I love that. Okay, watch this. C-3PO is going to lie his face off.
Interesting that you caught something there. And this is just as famous as it gets too. This hologram of the princess in distress.
Yeah, amazing. Never forget that.
You're my only hope.
Yeah.
And it's caught in a loop. That's a technological,
so good.
love.
So good. Yeah. And it became very iconic.
Oh, yeah. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
This particular scene is sort of a play on a scene from Forbidden Planet.
Oh, you're right. She goes, or 3PO says, I'm not quite sure. He's like, who is she? She's beautiful. And 3PO's like, I don't know. She could have been a passenger.
Yeah.
You're right.
He's keeping the secret. Yeah, he knows.
Oh, retro, I don't think I ever caught that or thought about that. There's another funny line in the Family Guy spoof here. He's like, old Ben Kenobi. I wonder if he means old Ben Kenobi. Yeah, and for everyone who just joined in, please click the like button. You will help Retro in the infamous algorithm. And Dampster Fire just joined in, Retro. Dampster Fire says C-3PO dialogue actually sounds like he half remembers, but his memory may have been wiped. R2 is obviously just being a good spy. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
But I think Retro's making the case, though, that 3PO may be consciously misleading Luke.
Oh, well, let's just say this. He lies again a lot later.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's to protect the cause. He doesn't lie to people just generally. He just like he's always lying on C3 on R2D2 saying it may have had a slight flutter. But he didn't have he knows very well that he's fine.
I love it. He says if you remove the restraining bolt, and now that I watch this in retrospect, having seen the prequels, now that I know the story, when she's like, too much of his father in him, it's like, dude, what? Like, that's such a terrible thing to say at the dinner table.
Yeah.
He says it so casually, but I think we have to remember that as written, Vader was separate from Luke's father when you watch A New Hope. Your father was a navigator on a spice freighter, and he's like, your father was a great pilot, and he was killed by a Jedi named Darth Vader. So I do believe that the original intent was to have two separate characters, and that they retconned it with Empire Strikes Back. I am your father.
They didn't know at the time that he was going to be his father.
Right,
but it works. It works in a very unique way, adding so many more layers to the story when it's all connected.
It works.
Yes,
because the story is great and there's so much that's done right. However, there's a little of these I call them editing injuries, where you see these little things left over that that don't perfectly vibe with the story, like her saying, "Oh, he's got his father in him." Darth Vader. You see Darth Vader in our son. It'd be a heck of a thing to say. Or our nephew, I guess.
Yes, but I mean, she sees. Uncle Owen is tough. Yeah, there's where he's like, that's what I'm afraid of. It's so kind of gives you a glimpse into the future and the past.
And then this is an essential scene for a lot of characters, men and women alike. This yearning. This yearning. If you're writing a story, your character should yearn for something. It's a very important quality.
Music.
Oh my God! The music is beautiful. John Williams has the ability to tap into that whatever feeling is meant to be felt and find a way to express it through music. And he's one of the greatest there ever is. But
Yeah.
Luke staring off into that binary sunset, one of the most famous scenes ever, and one of the greatest yearning scenes ever, with one of the greatest scores alongside of it. Yeah, the music is incredible.
Yeah.
And it is fun watching Luke as kind of a teenager. Oh, am I going to get it? You know, that he's under the thumb of a parental figures. You know, this is Luke Skywalker here. But that's common too. You know, you have to, a lot of heroines that I've studied have a similar thing. The main difference that I've seen between heroines and heroes in terms of feeling trapped in the native culture is heroes are, the native culture claims their labor. Which is very true with Luke Skywalker. The native culture wants the male, often male figure to do a job. Okay. And then the hero is drawn away from their native culture. Whereas a lot of heroines are claimed to continue society. You're there, or the heroine's job in some sense is to perpetuate society through children or birthright or lineage, or an acculturation or a tradition they're supposed to carry. So that seems to be the difference in terms of storytelling between heroines and heroes in a general sense. If you're looking for a pattern, remember Neo, you're going to watch The Matrix later on. They claim Neo's labor. He's like, we're one of the top software companies in the world. You either, you do a better job or you find yourself another job, sir. And Neo is, ADHD looking at the window wiper. But they're claiming his labor. And that is pretty typical of the hero and on the hero's journey.
I just want to read this really quick. Sunred says, I always suspected, but I finally knew when Darth Vader revealed himself. He is also my father. Oh my God. Let's see. And BGD says, the unanswered question, does that other speeder that 3PO hides in actually run? Ooh.
Yeah, BGD is all over it. This is called The Land of the Sand People. It's got great music. It's got, asymmetric drums. Dune, the new Dune soundtrack with Hans Zimmer has some of those asymmetric. I think they use more like industrial drums, but this has that. And by the way, for anyone who's interested, one of the pieces of music, and I love this piece of music, that inspired John Williams is Gustav Holst on the symphony called Gustav Holst The Planets.
Oh.
And one of those is called Mars, Bringer of War. And it's one of the pieces of music that inspired John Williams for Star Wars. And if you listen to it, you'll hear some of those Star Wars sounds in the music. And it's great. I love the music.
Mars, Bringer of Wars. Love that.
Mars, Bringer of War. Yeah. It's got, in fact, one of the most obvious ones is, shoot, what's the name of the track in Star Wars? It's when they're coming in on the tractor beam in Star Wars here in A New Hope. Anyway, they have something almost identical to that in Mars, Bringer of War. That music.
Guys, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, played by Alec Guinness, Sir Alec Guinness.
Sir Alec Guinness. The OG mentor.
And one thing that I have found, this doesn't necessarily play in the hero's journey or the heroine's labyrinth, but it is an archetypal pattern that I have noticed, is that whenever heroes or heroines are about to travel, they fall unconscious. It's bizarre. When they're it's called liminal space for storytellers. In liminal space is when you're in between two places, usually symbolized by deserts, oceans, space, whatever. It's liminal space. And a lot of characters fall unconscious before they enter liminal space. Luke just fell unconscious. Wizard of Oz, Dorothy falls unconscious when she goes up in the tornado. So it's just one of these weird things that I've noticed. So there must be something with the idea of sleep.
Interesting. So everything after this part could be a dream.
Luke wakes up in the desert.
Wait a minute. I had a really, really wild dream.
I dreamed that I personally took down the Empire. Darth Vader was my dad. Luke.
Now you got to go home and continue being a moisture farmer.
Have a glass of blue milk and get back to work.
Oh, man. Don't give me information like that. I'll just run away with it with my imagination. But yeah, that's really cool. That's a very, very amazing observation.
Yeah, Wonder Woman, when she gets on the boat to leave Themyscira, she falls asleep on in the boat with Steve Trevor.
Trevor, I think. Yeah, Steve Trevor.
Yeah, like it's just one of those things where there's something about sleep and dream before the journey.
It just really still behooves me that there was a human being inside of C-3PO and
Anthony Daniels.
Yeah,
he's one of the most stable Star Wars characters. He's in everything.
Yeah,
and you never get tired of seeing him. You know, it's not like he overplayed his hand.
No. And how thin he had to be to fit into that costume.
He's thin.
Yeah.
Right. And Stunt Brat, in Wizard of Oz, the poppies actually represent the poisoned apple archetype, which is delivered to the heroine, usually by the masked Minotaur, the villain of the story, in order to slow them down or bypass their defenses to defend themselves. And so the poppy serves that purpose in Wizard of Oz. It's a great example of the poisoned apple.
Oh, I love when the poison apple happens in the story. So cool.
Yes.
That and the Black Swan is my favorite.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. Those are very feminine archetypes.
Oh, the Black Swan.
And Retro Qatar Lal is in the chat, and they say hi.
Oh, hi, Qatar. How are you? Qatar. I hope you're doing really well. Great to see you, and thanks for stopping by. Oh my goodness! Tell me about your experiences with Star Wars. You love this particular franchise or this movie? Let me know.
And by the way, here is your now. This is Hero's Journey stuff here. We have met the wise guide. Obi-Wan Kenobi is unmistakably the wise guide. The wise guide is usually an old hermit-like character who seems unassuming, but has this back history that is extraordinary and completely at odds. Gandalf, he's the old man with fireworks, but he's got this extraordinary identity that's hidden. Same is true with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Luke just got the magic talisman, it's called, in the hero's journey, which is magical weapons, the magical gifts. He has given his father's lightsaber. Ooh. And by the way, this has to do with continuity. This is important to Luke. This is what we were talking about, that Rey was missing so desperately in the sequel trilogy. No sense of having come from anything. There's nothing from her past that comes into her that she cares about. Luke, even though we changed the story a little bit, he wants to be like his father. He wants to be a great pilot. Here is your father's lightsaber. It's an elegant weapon from a more civilized age, and it's now handed to Luke. So something of continuity is passed on to Luke and is in his possession. These are very powerful tropes for storytelling. Oh, and Retro, Gate of Marvel just gifted 5 Retro Nerd Girl memberships.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Gate of Marvel. Oh my goodness.
Yes, 100%. 5 magic talismans for 5 members.
Yes, and memberships last 30 days, everyone. So it's Florentine got a membership. Suzanne got one. Larry, Jam Cal X, the G's Lois also got one. Thank you so much.
Gate of Marvel. Awesome.
Oh, that is really amazing and very generous. Thank you so very much.
At the end of Star Wars, we'll play a special thank you for you.
Yes, we will. We will. Yes. Oh my God.
So here, by the way, boom, this is the call to adventure. This is not the inciting incident. So it's important to understand this as writers. This is the call to adventure. When Obi-Wan looks at Luke after a long, awkward silence and goes, "You must come with me to Alderaan." And Luke's like, "Alderaan? What are you smoking? I can't come with you to Alderaan. I've got work to do. I'm late. I'm in for it as it is." And of course, he's like, "That's your uncle talking," because that's exactly what his uncle would say. It's a classic. So the hero we just saw him pining for adventure. He was staring out at the sunset, dreaming of a bigger life. And Obi-Wan's like, "A bigger life is waiting for you." And what does Luke do? It's counterintuitive. "No, thanks. I have to be a farmer." He suddenly rejects the call to adventure. And this is an actual step in the hero's journey, that the hero gets the call to adventure that he's wanted his whole life and then refuses it. It's a phenomenal thing. Heroes do it all the time. Neo does it in The Matrix. He's in the car when it's raining and she's like, stay or go. And he opens the door. He's going to leave. He's about to leave and refuse the call to adventure.
Yes.
Heroes do it all the time.
I love it. I love these patterns. And I love that we enjoy the stories, even though there are patterns. It's like, oh yeah, there are patterns, but they don't make the stories stale at all.
No, the pattern is I think of it as like a molecular code from the human psyche. And this code DNA. Is in its simplest form. And that's why we can understand it. However, when you build the code out from that middle point, like tree rings, when you build it out, what it looks like on the outside is so different from story to story. And yet that molecular code, that psychic code from the human psyche, that information embedded in that is identical, but it expresses itself differently as it's built out each time. And I love that.
Oh, it's so good. It's almost like DNA, like, it's like the formulation of life itself.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I just saw Emily Kruger jumped in to say hi. What's up, Emily?
Oh, good to see you, Emily. Uh-oh. Pissed off Darth Vader. Tarkin is the only person who can tell him that, except for the Emperor, too.
I love it. And dude, who do you think you are? Talking to Darth Vader like that? Do you know who this guy is? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, none of you guys would be here if
I think it's hysterical how all the other guys are just like, they're like, leave me out of this, man.
Like, I didn't say anything.
Don't try to frighten us with your sorcerer's ways, Lord Vader.
Let me show you my sorcerer's ways.
It's funny. I have a deep wish for dialogue that was left out of Revenge of the Sith that would have tied to this. He's like, and these blast points, too accurate for sand people. In Revenge of the Sith, when they go back to the Jedi Temple after Order 66, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda are like, this one was killed by a lightsaber. And I wish he would have said, these are blast points from trooper guns, just to hearken the idea that he understands, the signature look of blasters from the Jedi Temple. I just wish they tied that in for that scene.
Oh, that would have been really cool. Or just some sort of like detective feeling about it. I mean, I think we all love that when we get like a certain little detail that a character knows and shares within the story. Oh boy, this is the scene.
Pod Racing Palpatine popped in to say, hello there.
Oh, Pod Racing. Good to see you.
So now this is pretty brutal.
Awesome. Oh, yeah. This is not.
Yeah, this is not PG. I mean, those are two scorched skeletons.
Yeah.
The Empire have come to Luke's homestead and they have razed it to the ground. And the bodies of his aunt and uncle are laying in the sand, face down. It's terrible. This is horrific. And it really leaves Luke with no choice. Look at that scene. That's a beautiful destiny moment. He's standing on the edge of a destroyed life.
Yeah.
And so now this is our first images of the labyrinth. Leia is in a labyrinth, the Death Star.
Yes.
It is definitely to Luke, the Death Star is the dragon to be slayed. For Leia, it is the labyrinth to be escaped.
Yeah. Oh, this part always scared me when I was little. I didn't think
And
too
this
much
is the
of
poisoned apple for Leia.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
This is the poisoned apple. He's going to try to extract her sacred fire from her, which is the plans of the Death Star. And there's usually something internal, swallowed, injected, or ingested that is involved with the poisoned apple. And there you have the syringe. Needles are famous poisoned apple images. Obviously, apples are another one, something pleasing to look at, but is dangerous. The needle is more overt. Coraline also uses the needle for the poisoned apple with the buttons. The needle's also used for Sleeping Beauty on the spinning wheel. Tracker Jackers in Hunger Games when she's stung. You would have been killed too. This is great. Luke accepts the call to adventure.
Yeah, he really doesn't have any other choice. But
right. Yeah, the way this story is told, he does not choose it willingly. You get a sense that he was what else is he going to do?
Yeah.
Mos Eisley Spaceport.
A more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
That has to be one of the most quoted sidelines of all time. Now, here is a lot of extra footage.
Yeah. Oh, God. It's just so much. And it's
some of it I like, some of it I don't.
Yeah. Like, I don't like any of this.
I wish it would have started right here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Where we're seeing the city and we're seeing how busy. Yeah. And I don't mind the womp rats. See, this, no thank you.
I don't mind that. I just don't like the Jawas falling off. It's played too much for laughs, and we didn't really need it.
It was. I don't. This whole thing, no. He's like, you can buy it. Like, we don't really care about these robots.
You don't need to see his identification. He can go about his business.
Now, to be honest, I really wanted to see Obi-Wan do more of that during when he was younger, or even learn how to do it. Like, I wanted to know like a little bit more about
the strategy behind the mind trick.
Yeah, and why don't they do it all the time, you know?
Oh, Old Man Bird is in the chat. New face. He says, we'll give you 2,000 here and 15 when we get to Alderaan. 17, huh? Okay. You guys got yourselves a ship.
So good to see you, Old Man Bird.
We must be cautious. And then here is, and George Lucas stated this, the only discrimination he had in Star Wars was against droids. It was his way of introducing it in a universe true form.
Yes.
Your droids.
I always like this song. A very 1920s style song.
I love this music. It's the Cantina band, John Williams. Totally. It's great stuff. It comes from the big band music of the 40s that was very popular in the the World War II generation.
Yeah.
They like, Glenn Miller band. They like this. So he just kind of repurposed it for this alien sound. And it's probably some of the most iconic music ever written. I mean, I don't know anyone you can't play this music without hearkening. You can't without summoning up Mos Eisley in that room when you hit play.
Yeah. But like I would imagine in any world, Like anytime you have like a bar in space, people always compare it to the cantina scene, and I'm like,
Oh my God.
that is
Yeah.
just this is so natural to have in space. I will say for sure you'll need a bar if we start doing more things in space. As soon as
Well,
we
and you
get
realize that this sets the tone for Star Wars. So
yeah,
we saw the ships in space. We saw stormtroopers, which are soldiers. We saw Darth Vader. We've seen sand people, which are like a desert, almost like a Bedouin or Fremen from Dune. Um, we've seen mostly humanoids and understand. So once you walk into the cantina, and by the way, this is important in the hero's journey, you cross into a threshold where the normal world is gone. And so what you're supposed to do is disorient the character, the reader, and or audience by showing them an outlandish scene of
yeah,
where there's bizarre characters in what's called a fragile state of truce.
yes.
And that's what the cantina is. And of course, these are one of your threshold guardians.
Okay,
Walrus
Alex
Man
Guinness
and
looks good there.
yeah. But notice Luke, you would never see Rey get shoved to the ground and someone else step in to help her. Luke gets tossed to the ground, and the old man's got to step in
Yeah,
and kick some A
yeah,
to deal with it. So what they're also showing you, they're also giving you yet another hint that there's more to Obi-Wan that meets the eye. This is
yeah,
this is a rough and tumble bar,
yeah,
and this guy can handle himself, and
yes,
no one's gonna mess
easily.
with him. They
Yeah,
all turn away from Obi-Wan.
yeah.
Um,
I
so
love
he is,
he gives everybody a nice look around, like, "Who else? Who wants some?"
yeah, it's an alpha move by an
Yeah,
old man. It's
yeah,
great. And
yeah.
then here's
Love it.
Han Solo. And I'd like to point out too that Han Solo is far more manly than Luke in A New Hope. So
Yeah.
everyone's like, Luke does
Oh,
it. Luke's a Mary. I was like, not at all. Luke is very unimpressive in A New Hope.
yeah,
He has
yeah,
his moments, but there's a lot of very unimpressive things with him.
yeah. Han calls him kid all the time. "Hey,
Right.
kid."
Watch your mouth or you'll find yourself floating home. Like he just talks down to him. He's tough to
Yeah,
him. Luke's clearly like the little brother in
yeah,
this.
yeah. I mean, Obi-Wan just called him a boy.
Yeah. Hey.
Dang. You're not even a man yet.
And then of course you've got a little bit of the hot rod culture from the 50s. The drag racing scene that Lucas liked with American Graffiti, kind
Yes,
of repackaged in a galaxy far, far away here.
yes.
When he sells a speeder, he's like, yeah, they're just not in demand anymore ever since the other one came out. Pod Racing Palpatine just said something hysterical.
What'd
When
you
that guy goes,
say?
I have the death sentence on 12 systems. Obi-Wan should say, I'm a survivor of Order 66. I have the death sentence on every system.
He's right.
12 systems? That's adorable.
What I thought was a mistake though of the prequels though was all the Jedi were pretty much wearing the same thing that uh Obi-Wan was wearing here. It's sort of like
I
the
do
Jedi
think that
robe.
yeah, I
And
think that if Luke, go ahead.
yeah, because I mean, if he's wearing a Jedi robe, obviously he's a Jedi. It should have been a different design altogether.
Yeah, I think if Lucas could go back, he might change some of that. I think I've
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
him in recent interview, or not recent, but after the prequel interviews, post prequel, that
Say
he had some
something like that.
regrets on some of it.
Yeah.
And here's Greedo. It's funny. Every time somebody in modern Star Wars wants to make an alien, they always put Greedo, a Greedo looking alien in there, a Rodian. Yeah, Oshka.
Yeah, we should have had a Rhodian centric storyline in the Star Wars universe already.
Yeah, the rise of Greedo.
Oh,
Who shot first?
always. Always Han Solo.
And even the way he's dressed with the vet, this is more of a Western. He's got the
Yeah.
low holster on the hip, the
Yep.
vest, and there's a shootout, like a standoff. So
Yes.
that's very Western. So you've got Japanese Ronin looks. Obi-Wan Kenobi sounds Japanese, and then of course these guys look like German soldiers in the 1930s and 40s.
Yes.
And then you've got the Western. So there's a lot of synthesis coming into Star Wars.
Oh, Peter Cushing is just so awesome.
He's great, isn't he?
Yeah.
And him and Alec Guinness. I think a lot about this, how to stabilize stories. When stories go wrong, it's because they get destabilized in a way that breaks the bond between the storyteller and the audience. And Peter Cushing and Sir Alec Guinness both are stabilizing elements in this story. They're older actors who are classically trained in England, and they bring such credibility to the good and the bad guys that they themselves kind of carry the empire and the rebellion on their shoulders in this film.
Oh my God, like a little
spy. And Sean Brown points out that Vader's helmet, it's absolutely a samurai helmet that's been repurposed into this film. And it's freaking great. I think samurai helmets are cool as hell already.
Yes.
And then, of course, have you ever seen the original footage to this retro?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
It's a human. It's kind of a big, it's kind of like an overweight guy who's like, hey, it's Solo.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about this.
Well, the one that came out in 1997 was awful. It just was not good. They redid it, and he looks like Jabba the Hutt now, so it's much better. And of course, they added Boba Fett into this scene. He was not in the original Star Wars.
Yes, I noticed that, and I was like, I'm not sure.
I'm very 50-50 on this scene as well. I think I don't mind it because I'm looking at the real Han Solo and the real Chewie and the real Falcon. So there's instant pleasure in getting a little bit more of the real thing. And I do think that they cleaned up Jabba.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is part of the storyline, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the only part that I really like.
I'm gonna have to start calling you Retro Maboogie.
My
Hey, Retro Maboogie.
Hey, dog, Maboogie.
The term of endearment in a galaxy far, far away.
Maboogie.
And then, of course, he breaks the fourth wall here, actually, to look at the screen.
Yeah.
I actually probably would have preferred he didn't, but whatever.
Yeah. A little spy here.
Yeah, Podcasting Palpatine mentioned it too. Boba breaking the fourth wall. Yep, exactly.
He's like, oh, the camera. Hey, guys.
What a piece of junk.
See, this tells you that he's a ship nerd. He loves ships and he knows good quality ships.
That's right. So you have to be a gear nerd yourself to write it into the script.
Yes.
So I was talking about things that people bring into their stories from their past, from their real life experience.
Oh, you have
George
to,
Lucas wrapped his car around a pole, driving at high speeds, and speed is brought into this. His gear porn love comes into this.
Yeah.
So and some of the writers at Lucasfilm now, I just don't think have much to come in from their lives. Except maybe a university experience.
Well, it's hard. I mean, this is more like a one guy's vision where that's like a committee. It's more like a committee thing.
Well, but that's a double-edged sword because the prequels was one man's vision too, and there's a lot of flaws with the prequels.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least with that one vision, you understand where it's coming from. Whereas with the committee, it just seems like everybody like decides on stuff that doesn't seem to all go together and have the same understanding of the story.
100%.
That's what I'm feeling. I could.
I think that's sure, for sure. And whoever designed the Star Destroyer just hit it out of the park. I mean, everything they touched in this.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, the design of the Millennium Falcon, which is asymmetrical and bizarre looking. You know, the Star Destroyers, the Death Star, the look of Han, the look of Chewie. I mean, they just did so much right. The sound designers, the John Williams, who did the score, the creature design, like everyone in this just nailed
I love the way he just slaps his hand like, don't touch that, kid.
What's that flashing?
Now, this is okay. They showed you how it is supposed to work, right? They showed you how hyperdrive is supposed to work. It worked perfectly fine that time.
Right. And you have to have a nav computer. Otherwise, you'll fly through something and destroy yourself.
Yes. And it's possibly. Look at her.
Holding Vader's leash.
I like the way he smiles at her. Like,
charming to the last. So, and this, one of the points I make in hero-centric stories is even if you have a captive princess, because that's looked down upon for some good reasons, but I'm not against a captive princess because she still has her sovereignty, even if she's captive. And Princess Leia is very defiant throughout all of this to let you know that she's absolutely her own woman, regardless of her captive state.
Yeah. and this is a captivity.
Well, this is actually the Black Swan. The Black Swan, as an archetypal design, is in a lot of hero-centric stories.
Ooh, yes.
And it is when a force of nature, usually a natural disaster, comes sweeping in and upturns the native culture of the heroine. Now, they're about to blow up a planet.
Yeah.
The Death Star only destroys one planet. In all of Star Wars lore, I guess until the sequels, which I don't really count, but they blow up one planet, and it's the heroine's home world. So we're with Leia here. We're not with Luke. Luke doesn't know about this event.
Yes.
It's her home. She grew up on this planet, and you see the total destruction. There's an association of apocalyptic imagery with heroines. I don't know why, or I have my theories, but it's a unusual association. Sarah Connor with the nuclear explosion. Coraline's world comes apart. And here you see Princess Leia's homeworld apocalyptically annihilated in total.
I love this acting by Alec Guinness.
Yeah.
He is traumatized. Watch him after he talks too.
He should have said billions of voices.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I fear something terrible has happened.
Just look at his body language. He's just messed up.
Yeah. He grabs. It's like he's having a heart attack at first. You know.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is the only training sequence we get for the hero's journey. In Empire Strikes Back, we get a fully expanded training sequence with Yoda. But in the self-contained story of A New Hope, this is it.
Yeah. I think this was all we needed too.
It is. It's all we needed for this.
Yeah. And
in the Matrix, we
basic,
get the.
He tells the basic knowledge base of what the Force is too, to explain it to us as well.
Right. And we see him see through the blast shield, with that nifty move. So we get evidence that this might be real. The Force is real.
Yeah.
Neo has a great training sequence in The Matrix, which you'll watch later.
Yes.
For anyone who's watching right now, if you don't know, Retro will be going on, I believe it's 7:00 Central, to watch The Matrix on Lorena Creole's channel.
Thank you. Yes, I will be dropping the link for that after we're done. So
Yeah,
stay
we've got to
tuned.
be at the level of technology where we can create a hologram chessboard like this, right?
Ah, yes.
We got to play that.
Let me just make sure that I'm at the right spot. Okay. Yeah, I'm a few. Okay.
Yeah, Paul N, who's in the chat, mentions that in 1977 there were some movie critics that said Star Wars would be a failure, and guess what? They were wrong.
Boy, that that did not age well even for back then.
Oh, and retro.
And
Mark
hi,
D with a
Paul.
C
Good to
just
see you.
dropped in.
Oh, hi, Mark. Mark D with a C. So good to see you. So good to see all of you. And yeah, again, hello, Paul. Good to see you. And
Mark says that
great
Star
comment.
Wars is a pretty good movie.
Do you happen
He's
to
heard
have
of it anyway.
any do you have any memorabilia for that by any chance, Mark? Maybe a few items. Oh, we'll have to have a show and tell with Mark to see his some of his Star Wars
Oh,
stuff.
very cool.
Yeah, we'll see if we can work it out one of these days. Look at there. Woo, the Force.
Nice. You see? You can do it.
Mhm.
I call it luck. See, and you like Han because he might be off-putting, but he's practical and he says
Yeah,
exactly what he
he
thinks.
says that's luck.
Um,
That's what you
right.
call luck. And he's like, oh, I don't think so. There's no such thing as luck.
May the Schwartz be with you.
What's that?
He
Keithy?
says it.
Yes. And oh, by the way, Lorena and I are gonna see that one of these weekends. So that's gonna be a lot of fun on her channel.
What are you going to be watching? Oh, Spaceballs.
Spaceballs, yeah, Spaceballs.
Yeah.
We're doing it big this year.
That's awesome. All right, cut in the sublight engines.
Whoa, where's Alderaan?
Destroyed by the Empire. I mean, that's incredible.
Yes, great work. The sound effects, everything. By Millie Phils.
And they're just shaking this off camera.
Yeah.
They're in this cockpit, and there's a couple guys I've seen it. They're just shaking it, and Han, they're just in the. I'm like, oh man, it's so simple sometimes.
Yeah. It's perspective. Like, where are you seeing this from? Don't follow him, guys. Don't follow him. It's a trap.
It's a short range
It's a
fighter.
trap.
Yeah, it's a trap. And we got Return of the Jedi in 2 weeks, right?
Yes, 2 weeks. Return of the Jedi. Next week will be Empire Strikes Back.
Mark D with a C said he had to beg his dad to take his sister and him to see this movie in 1977 because his dad thought it would be terrible. But obviously, that was not true, and they all ended up loving it.
A lot of people thought it was going to be terrible because sci-fi movies weren't really at this kind of level, even though I love them. They didn't have this kind of polish.
That's no moon. That's a space
No
station.
Chewie
locking the auxiliary power. Notice Chewie missed that cue. Chewie. And you know what, Retro, you're totally right. So sci-fi was kind of it was a genre that didn't have a lot of respect. It was beloved. People liked their sci.
Oh wait, we lost your audio. Doug. Doug, I think we lost your audio, Doug. Oh, we lost him altogether. Okay. Oh, sorry. He'll be back. He'll be back. Sorry about that. Okay, we'll see. Oh, I think he's back. You're back.
Oh man, my electricity went out for a second.
Oh yeah, we're having also volume issue. Let's see if I can help.
For me?
Yeah, let me just check to see if we can increase your volume. All right, speak now.
I had this back work.
Say that again.
Did it better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm echoing though.
Um, I
Let's
love the
see.
way he says
Test, test. Why
he
am I?
says it so softly. He's like, I haven't a presence I haven't felt since.
And then the smuggling compartment. Am I echoing to you?
Just a smidge. And it's not coming from my end because I'm fully hooked up into the machine. I'm completely digital now. Now, whatever you were saying, you were so passionate. I definitely want you to tell us what you were saying.
I want to tell you, but I don't want to be echoing like this.
All right, we'll keep trying. Um,
Do I sound okay to you guys?
you sound really great to me. Let's see. Yes, Keith E says, Douglas, you sound okay to me.
Okay.
So if it's echoing, it's definitely something we can't hear.
Okay, then it must be echoing on for just me. Ugh, it's bothering me to hear it though. Anyway, I was just saying that sci-fi was kind of a smaller genre back then. The money and the technology was just not up to the task of delivering completely believable sci-fi world. So there was always this sort of wonderful artificiality to sci-fi, and of course that was broken with 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was the first time that a director came in and delivered what looked to be completely believable science fiction, and it was treated seriously. It wasn't treated as gimmicky or fantasy. It was very serious film with very serious overtones and messaging and high art. And so it really launched sci-fi into this new, like, you could make legitimate movies with sci-fi. And then Star Wars solved a lot.
Yes,
Sound, speed, believability, motion capture, the idea of dogfighting in space. All of these things were new and
yes,
delivered. And then on
yes,
top of that, you have this young whippersnapper named John Williams pen a score for your movie. And now you've got one of the greatest films ever made.
yes. I
But it
mean,
also showed that you can make sci-fi believable, and it didn't
yeah,
have to be the campy but fun artificiality of the old science fiction movies of the '60s. It didn't have to be the high-handed um, uh, art house movie like 2001. He found that happy medium that Hollywood loves, something that appeals to everybody.
yeah. Oh, that's a. I like how he just leans on his buddy. Yeah,
Princess Leia.
if they didn't find her, that they would have blew up the the Death Star, and she would have been in it.
Right. So this was classic hero's journey stuff. This is the hero coming in to rescue the princess. Now, there's a
Yeah.
lot of criticism about that scenario. Some of it's founded, but some of it is unfounded and unnecessarily criticized. A hero who chooses to risk himself to rescue a princess is acting heroically, and that's a good thing. What
Yes.
we don't want is the idea or the portrayal of a heroine as helpless unless a hero comes in to rescue her. That's the negative side. That's what we're trying to avoid. And
Yeah.
here we do have Princess Leia, who's fully self-sufficient. All of us
Yeah.
believe she's fully capable, and yet she needs a helping hand from the outside world, and that's
Yes.
okay. Luke
Yeah.
needs helping hand. Ben's the one that helps him in the cantina. Han's the one who swoops in at the end to help him against the Death Star. So it is okay for heroines to have a hero come to help them.
Yes.
We just
And
need to make sure that we're writing our heroines as fully capable individuals with their own agency, a problem that was not always solved in some earlier stories.
one thing I wanted to add here is that Luke in this story, one of the themes that we were talking about um, e- earlier in another conversation was heroes not doing it all on their own. And for Luke, he does not do this alone. There are so many little areas where everybody's helping him along the way in order to be a hero or to be successful. And we'll see that at the a little bit later. But
Yeah,
in
that's
this
exactly right.
particular case,
And
he's
my whole
taking
point is
the
in
responsibility.
storytelling, they're called heroic partners. Heroines get them, heroes get them. And the
Oh
dynamics
yeah.
in heroic partners are a little different for the hero and the heroine. Um, the heroine has what I call the beast as ally, which is a very usually it's an off-putting, socially isolated character who is outcast in some ways or rejected by the native culture. And this is appealing to the heroine because she has turned against her native culture on some level, or there's a major conflict with her native culture that she's dealing with. And so a character who also not only is struggling with the native culture, but doesn't care is very appealing to a lot of heroines in their stories. And I even have a theory that Han Solo was based off Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind.
Sounds very reasonable. Now, one thing I did want to say is that, you know, in the whole act of her being sort of the Princess Leia was willing to die at this point for her cause, which I don't know what kind of hero that you need to be in order to, like, she's willing to make the ultimate sacrifice of her life. She wasn't expecting to be saved by anybody. She was like, "Okay, well, we're in the final stretch. We're gonna go down. This is the hill I die on." And I love that about her character. It shows so much strength, maturity, and also like what she finds valuable, saving the lives of trillions of people. So, uh, Princess Leia is a true hero in my eyes. Look out, he's loose. Oh man. This scene is wild. Like so much going on.
Yeah, I love this scene. Can you hear me, Retro?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I just solved everything. I was having all sorts of problems over here. I was suffering in silence, but I think I've solved it all.
Oh, good.
Did you hear when I said that I thought Han Solo was based off Rhett Butler?
Yes, I heard that. Yes. And then after that you went silent. But I filled it in with some commentary on Princess Leia. I love this. He's trying to like improvise and he's like, "How are you?" Oh boy. I love how the tension is like, okay, you gotta hurry it up. The iconic moment when Luke and Leia meet. Oh no, I'm sorry. We've got some technical difficulties here, but I'm sure Doug will be back as soon as possible. Hmm. Let's see what. Oh, Joseph Begay's here. How are you? It says. Oh, what is that? The first time I'm seeing. Let's see. Good to see you, Joseph. Let's see. Oh yeah. Gate of Marvel says wouldn't be a YouTube stream without hiccups. Yeah, that's true. Pod, pod racing opportunity. You've got great jokes. It says if Doug suddenly cried out and was silenced. Oh no. Well, and the force will be with you, Doug, as always. Yes, he'll be back. It was probably if I were he's probably restarting his computer for better settings. So maybe that sometimes could take a few moments. This is a really, really exciting scene. Okay, this scene right here is another example of C3PO coming in on clutch, right? Because okay, so these guys are coming into the room where the robots are, and they kind of go into like another area. And I'll show you when the scene comes up. I love this banter between the two of them. Yeah, she basically saves them. Leia saves them, and also Leia has within meeting him in a few minutes has Han Solo summed up. She calls him Flyboy. She's like, get in the garbage, Flyboy. Yeah, they're pinned down. They were gonna die if she hadn't have thought on her feet like that. It's not the best choice, but it was the only choice. I do love the banter between oh boy. He had everything under control. Oh, I love the sound effects for the monster. Yeah, I love one thing I love about this movie, it's 2 hours, but it's the pacing is just so good. Even Princess Leia is a little scared, just like, "Oh, wait a whoa, 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 what's that?" Oh, a comedic little eyeball just shows up. Oh, hmm. Let's see if we can get Doug back in here. You're back.
Hear me?
Yes.
I think I can hear your. I don't want you to get copyright flagged. I can hear your. Oh wait, that's me. Hold on, 1 second. There we go.
Okay, yeah.
Hey,
Yes,
whoever said that heard my voice suddenly silenced.
yes,
I was cursing and getting all hot and bothered over here, getting my computer set, and then so I had you on my phone playing, and I heard someone say, I just started laughing out
that
loud.
was great joke. Great joke. It was, let's see, Pod Racing Palpatine.
Yeah,
Great
that was
joke.
great, Pod Racer.
Yeah.
Now I got to resync this thing. One thing I was going to point out too, in terms of archetypal designs, is you hit it. You said they would have died in that hallway if Leia didn't think on her feet.
Yes.
But that ventilation shaft, that little vent she found, that's called the secret door. And I cannot tell you how many times in stories, especially heroine-centric stories, where it is the heroine who either finds a secret door for escape or finds a secret door to go to a magical world. It happens all the time. And here, there's something about heroines and these secret doors. Newt does it in Aliens when they're pinned up against the wall. She finds the ventilation shaft, and the Colonial Marines go into it there too. So Princess Leia is very much in keeping with the heroine tradition of knowing something about the world that helps them escape.
Okay, listen to this. Watch this with C-3PO. Okay, he lies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he lies pretty
and then
coolly.
look, he picks up the microphone. Quick thinking.
Yeah.
Without that, hero doesn't get to win. He's lying again. I love it. C-3PO is thinking on his feet.
Yeah, and I love that. Of course, Han Solo. I had everything under control till you let us down here.
Yes. And what I think is really cool is how much he's being like, he's improvising, like stand on top. He's like, let's get the brace to try to brace this. He's still trying, these characters are trying to live. They're trying to survive. And that's what makes you really root for them. Even if they're not like the perfect or people, right? The perfect hero. They're still trying to make it.
100%. And what was I going to say? Hold on, I'm trying to time this up again. It's also part of world building. If the characters aren't doing anything, if they're not continually trying to solve all these little small problems, then there is diminishment in the believability of the world. So them bracing the wall and doing these other like micro strategies in their crisis all add to this this world, that it's a believable problem that they're
in. So great. And Mark Hamill is selling it. He's like,
Ooh, I had it and I messed it up. Yeah. Where could he be?
So cool. Love that. Good. I'm actually gonna I have something I have to take care of really quickly, so I'll be right back, everybody.
All right.
So Doug, are you gonna hold down the fort for me?
I will. You will go down the secret door and you will return.
Yes, and I shall return.
And of course, this is cool too, because we get another little glimpse. Because, you know, in A New Hope, we don't really know the full extent of the Force, right? So we get just these little clues, basically from Obi-Wan Kenobi. We learn about the Jedi mind trick. We find out about the lightsaber. You know, he's good with the lightsaber. And then here, you know, he's able to kind of like project the sound. He's able to like throw sound. If we can avoid any female advice, I love it. I mean, this is just classic man-woman arguing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who you are or where you came from. She's just cutting them down to size. She's playing the princess card on him and pulling rank on him. And of course, he doesn't like it. Yeah, and Gate of Marvel, that's a great point. That scene where Obi-Wan is moving that lever, there's a huge matte painting that make it look like there's a bottomless pit there. We might get another look at it right here. Maybe it's another drill. You know, I have a confession. When I was a kid, I always thought he said, maybe it's another girl. So I don't know why. I always thought that was a joke, like, you know, Princess Leia is on board and now something else is going on. I don't know. Maybe there's another girl on board. My childhood brain thought that was a joke, but I misheard it all these years. Joseph Piguet. Per the 3 laws of robotics. He's talking about the 3 law. I think the Isaac Asimov lies, or world. 3PO is obligated to lie to protect his own existence and to be able to help its owner. Interesting take on that.
Oh, I love that, Joseph. Okay, it's awesome. What a great analogy.
And this is fantastic. This is a Han Solo moment, right?
Yes.
You know, when you think of Han Solo and why we like him, it's because of a scene like this. Yes. Him chasing down a battalion of stormtroopers. And then, of course, in the extended edition, the special edition, they add to it by having a whole room of TIE fighters and stormtroopers. Great stuff.
Oh, so
you know,
good.
Heroes, heroines, they have to earn their moments. You
Yes.
know, so you only get a handful of these because, you know, you can't be doing something amazing every second of the story.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have moments that are memorable and undeniably heroic. And they nailed it with Han Solo in that scene. And then Luke's about to have his scene right here.
Yeah, which is really great because we have a moment where Princess Leia saves them. Again, she just closed the door.
Yep.
And now Luke is going to save her again. So it's like sort of this beautiful dance that's going back and forth. One person, you know, each player is helping push along the story.
Yeah.
Without them, the story shortened. The hero dies.
The hero dies, and it also shows that they both need each other. You know, it's kind of, you know, in the most famous labyrinth story of all, that of King Minos and Daedalus and the Minotaur, Theseus slays the Minotaur. Rodney's the one that solves the maze. So you get this dynamic of the masculine and the feminine kind of working in concert. That's
wait. We got your volume your volume left. Oh, there it goes. Oh, your volume left and then it came back suddenly.
What the heck is going on? I've never had these kind of fritzy problems before. Can you hear me pretty good now?
Yeah, you're perfect now. It was just for a second almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's one of the few times in the movie where the big score really comes in when he's swinging across the chasm.
Yeah, it is a heroic moment, right? It's like it's peak heroics. Oh boy!
We forgot to mention the Wilhelm.
The Wilhelm. Uh-oh. He was waiting for him. He knew it was there.
I always, as a kid, I memorized, because they show a lot of scenes of Obi-Wan moving around in the Death Star. It's when he has his hood on. That's the moment. That's how I always know that this is the Darth Vader moment.
Oh, yeah.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Only an evil, even only a master of evil.
And, you know, I got to say, that Obi-Wan Kenobi miniseries does mess this scene up. They really, I just pretend it doesn't exist. Some people like
Yeah.
that show. I
I
don't.
did like yeah,
Yeah,
I
well,
did like the show, I just wish they didn't do, they went too far. They should have
they
really
did
looked
go
at
too far.
yeah, I think they should have looked at this stuff and really, like, stuck to it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, well, it didn't seem like it was well thought out, and they did bizarre choice. Ewan McGregor
Yeah,
hating. How do you blow that? I just don't understand.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm over it. But obviously, the
Well,
scene was intended that
yeah,
after Order 66 happened, that Obi-Wan was lost, the Jedi Order was destroyed, and Vader goes on to become a supreme apex individual in the Empire. And this is the first time they see each other.
yeah.
So obviously that's the way it should have been, and that's the way I still see it in my head.
I would love for that to be the case, or and even though I enjoyed the moments with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan fighting together, I really thought that that should have been maybe like a dream sequence where he kind of worked it out in his head
Mm,
in order to move on. But I because sometimes you can play the events of the past and stuff in your head, and then you create a new lore in order to like, okay, I need to move on from this moment. And so that would have been really cool if it was something in his mind that how he was able to work out his issues with Darth Vader.
oh man. And Alec Guinness just owns this moment that
Yes.
with the music when he looks over at Luke and
Yeah.
he
Perfect.
realizes I can't get there. There's no way
Yeah.
they'll escape as long as I'm alive.
Yeah.
He goes down. And by the way,
Yeah.
this is an archetypal moment too. This is called the loss of the guide. And it's
Yeah.
very important because, like I said, the guide is this mysterious hermit figure who ends up having this extraordinary identity and passes on the magic weapons and knowledge to the hero. And then that guide is gone and the hero
Yeah.
is on his own. Now,
Yeah.
Luke has heroic partners. And if you shift the focus to Princess Leia, she has heroic partners.
Yeah.
She is surrounded by the heroine is often flanked by two types of heroic partners. One is the beast as ally, which is Han Solo, and the other is the fragile power, which in this case is R2D2. She's got her two heroic partners, and so does Luke. So they do escape together.
Yes.
And of course, if you believe the Obi-Wan Kenobi storyline, this scene makes no sense on Princess Leia. She doesn't react to Obi-Wan's death at all.
At all. Yeah.
And it's not believable that they
Yeah.
had this huge series of adventures together.
Yeah. Even though I really loved little baby Leia, I just hated what they wrote for her. Should have been something else, and it should have been her own series, to be honest.
Yeah. You know what? I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you want a hero-centric story, we could probably never go back and do this. But
Yes.
what they should have done was told Leia's story leading up to Star Wars, to this movie. I want
Yeah.
to know how a princess
They
from
could have
Alderaan gets wrapped up in this underground military
yeah.
group, who must
And
have
they
been.
could have done this through a series, in episodic television. They could have done this totally. It's it may still be something that they can do, but they've ruined the baby Leia so much that we're just like kind of like, nah, that's okay.
Totally. What they should have done was take the Andor timeline and instead of Andor, who's a side character in Rogue One, make that story Princess Leia's story. How did the rebellion get
Hmm.
off the ground? How did she get mixed up with these guys? Who met her? Who pitched her this? Where did
Yeah.
she get the idea that she's going to steal the Death Star plan? And if you understand the scope of the story, including Rogue One, her decision to commit herself to the Battle of Scarif is huge
Yeah.
because she's a princess with credibility. She's a member of and she's going to go in to a terrorist attack on Scarif and jump into this attack on the side of the so-called terrorists, right?
Yeah.
That's essentially what she does. And Vader shows up to stop. Why didn't they should have told the Andor story, but centered it on Princess Leia and showed us how a teenage young woman from a princess from Alderaan gets involved in the rebellion.
Yeah. I would have bought that.
Because even the way Rogue One ends is they found their way right back to Princess Leia, and it's actually a beautiful ending. It shoots off and picks up right where A New Hope picks up.
And
So
I think they may still be able to do that. It's right now, and Andor is so good. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And this is the last season that they're going to do, but um, we need more of a Princess Leia story, but not where she's like great at everything, but
right, we don't need her
something
to be
where
great at everything. We need her to struggle.
yeah, we want her to grow into the person she becomes,
Right. One of my
and she
problems with
fails a
Rey.
few times to get there.
Well, yeah, because my problem with Rey is if there's a young girl out there and she's watching Star Wars and Rey, and she's like, what would Rey do? And don't laugh, because this is what kids do. They will look for events in their head. They will scan their head for other people that they look up to that have had adversity. And they're like, man, how
Yeah,
did that person deal with it? How did that person deal with it? If you watch Rey, Rey just squints her eyes and solves it. That's not
yeah.
going to help a young girl in the real world who might be having a crisis or self-doubt
Mm,
or a bout of a blow to her confidence. She's going to want to think of a heroine who feels like she does,
mhm,
lost, confused, doubting herself. She's going to remember that. And then she's going to remember how that heroine got out of that, how she solved it. So what you have to do, the modern storyteller is pressured to never show women portrayed with any sort of negativity. And I get the spirit behind it, but you need to show heroine struggling so that we could see how she solves her struggle. The key is she has
yeah,
to solve it. She
yes.
does have to solve it in the
I
end.
love that. I love that.
Even if
Just
a figure comes in and saves her from time to time or
mhm,
once,
yeah.
she still has to solve the underlying problems in her life. So, and Princess Leia is a perfect character for an expanded story to see
I
more
think
about her.
so. I think so. And just want to say hi to Moonbeam. Hi, Moonbeam. So
What's
good
up,
to
Moonbeam?
see. And Jessica says, can you imagine Carrie Fisher's expression when she was told not to wear undergarments? When she was told that there's no underwear in in space. Oh man.
Well, and imagine, she also had to wear that slave outfit in Return of the Jedi. It's like,
Yeah.
well, what's your excuse this time? She's like, just wear it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I
I
had a massive crush on Princess Leia as a kid. Massive.
Oh, I think everybody did. Everybody loved her. So,
Yeah, Paul, and I agree. I wish it was done quickly. I do think there's an opportunity, maybe in a few years down the road, to recast the characters and maybe do some more storytelling in this world. I think her daughter would make a perfect Princess Leia stand-in. Carrie Fisher's
yeah,
daughter.
yeah, I'm not sure if she's that dedicated to acting. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I would pick somebody who really wants to like dig their feet into a character and stay there for a while. And I'm not sure if she wants to, but she was also in the I believe the sequels, and I'm not sure if it would have two characters that look exactly
oh,
alike.
I
Would
gotcha.
yeah. Let's see. Paul N said, in my humble opinion, I think George Lucas should have made the sequels right after the original trilogy. That way, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher would still be young enough to continue. And we all agree. I think Doug was talking about that, and yeah, it would have been perfect. But if his heart wasn't in it at the time, you know,
Yeah.
what can you do?
So there's two things that are worth pointing out here. One, this is a missing from a lot of modern stories, is I call this kind of a scene a tactical overview. You
Ooh,
are
I love it.
being right. So you are being told almost in a classroom-like setting, a gathering, that this is the physical layout of the Death Star. These are the physical limitations we're dealing with. This is the objective. So this is how we're going to get to the objective. You're required to maneuver your, X-wing to this point. It's ray shielded, so you'll have to use proton torpedo. They're telling you the practical reality of an
Yeah.
attack like this, and they're giving you a tactical overview. You have to do this because it gives meaning to all the action that we're going to
Yes.
see in space. They might be dogfighting, but they're dogfighting under the rubric of this logic, of this tactical approach. If you don't have the tactical overview, it's just dogfighting, and it's infinitely less interesting. The action
Yes.
becomes boring, no matter how spectacular it might look
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
Secondly, here we go. We have to give a huge shout out here to Marcia Lucas. George Lucas originally, his wife at the time, George Lucas originally had the rebels leave the rebel base and go attack the Death Star, which was just hanging out in space. Marcia Lucas, and if you watch how brilliant and clever this is, created a scenario, not just that they were attacking the Death Star in space, but that the Death Star was going to shoot the planet with the rebel base on it. That
Yes, and I love that. I love that because we see that the bad guys are very, very smart. They've put a homing device. The only reason why they let them go is they put a homing device on the Millennium Falcon, and that is how they are able to know where to direct their firepower. It's beautiful, and what a wonderful display of two adversaries that are equally matched in wit and cunning. And you want to see that kind of fight. You want to see that kind of fight. You want to see who wins, and that's what really juices us up for the climax of this film.
So, what's brilliant with the Marcia Lucas idea, the idea that they're not just attacking the Death Star, they're attacking the Death Star, which is attacking the rebel base.
Yes.
If you watch Star Wars here right now with us, observe how she is able to deliver that entire plot twist using just a handful of tactical clips. They show that tactical overview of, and sound. The rebel base will be in firing range in 3 minutes. You can record, I could record that right now and just give it to Marcia Lucas and their editors and be like, okay, there you go. I recorded a speaker saying the Death Star is about to fire. And then they created these little, these digital clips showing you the Death Star getting closer and in range. That's it. And then, of course, in the special edition, he's able to give you beautiful, perfect shots of the Death Star orbiting the planet of Yavin. But all of this was essentially conceived and added at the edit and in post, which is very difficult in 1977 to make that level of a change and then to pull it off. And in my opinion, makes this, turned it from what would have been a great scene to one of the greatest scenes ever. One of the greatest climaxes of all time.
Yeah. It's Biggs.
And Sean Brown, you're right. The tactical overview in Back to the Future.
Yes.
Excuse the crudity of this model. I didn't have the time to build it to scale. That's so ridiculous.
I love that. Right.
But they do it in Return of the Jedi too, with Admiral Akbar. You can see here. They show you the tactical. And in the Clone Wars, they do it all the time. In modern Star Wars, they're skipping that step, and all you're getting is action, and that's a mistake.
That's a mistake because that was sometimes my favorite part of it all was seeing the tactical decisions that they made, and just the explanation. It really explains those scenes to you that we're about to see.
If you understand the rules to capture the flag, and I show you where the flag is, then the scene of me running back to my base with it, it's going to hit home because people know the meaning of that action.
Yeah.
But if you just show people running around trying to capture a flag, it's going to get boring pretty quick.
Like, what are they doing? What's the purpose?
You're like Transformers, the Transformers movies. I'm not a big fan of them because it was just gratuitous action, and I could barely follow it. But Star Wars, Lucas, again, this is a nod to functionality. Lucas conceived of an actual attack here on this gigantic station, and he even explained how little stunt fighters could be a threat. He wrote it into the script. What good are stunt fighters to the Death Star? And he's like, the Empire doesn't regard this as a threat.
Oh, this is such a cool scene.
Which suggests hubris on the part of the Empire. And this is one of the greatest scenes that he did.
Oh, visually, visually, this is stunning.
I love it.
Yeah.
Red 5 standing by. And now, by the way, there's a little Easter egg in Rogue One they're attacking the base on Scarif, and there's a guy in there named Red 5. And he's like, Red 5. He goes, and he's like, Red, and he blows up. So we have an opening for Red 5.
Red 5.
Right. So they show you how Red 5 was available for Luke in in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And this is right out of Ralph McQuarrie's head. Lucas just stuck to his guns there and brought the conceptual image from Ralph McQuarrie's head and put it on screen, added speed. John Williams added the music, and we get one of the greatest climaxes in movie history.
Wow,
this right
so
here.
Good.
The music, I listen to this just by myself. There's X-Wings and TIE fighters floating around in my head. I love it.
So good. I was so scared for the rebels here. I was like, oh my God, you
guys. So I have to point out, I have a take on this that's a little different. And I was talking to my dad about it. This movie came out in 1977, which means it was filmed mostly in 1976 and conceived in 74, 75.
Yeah.
If you look, the age of the rebels, there's only a handful of young rebels. Luke, Biggs, Tank. And then there's a lot of older rebels.
There are a lot of older ones.
I believe it was subconscious. I believe it's subconscious. The baby boomers fought the Vietnam War. The baby boomers. Yes. And at the time, Americans had been treated to victory after victory in all these previous wars in our history, including World War II. The greatest generation, right? The greatest generation, the John Waynes, the Elvis Presley, they all went off to fight World War II, and it was the good war, right? And then you have Vietnam, which was fought by baby boomers, many of whom against their will. They were drafted into this war, and it was considered a bad war, one that America did not win. And Vietnam ended, I believe, in 1972 or 74, and which was right around the time that Lucas was conceiving of Star Wars. And so here, and baby boomers lived with this Vietnam thing hanging over their head. And so here you're watching Star Wars, and there is a look of the American military, the orange suits and everything like that. And here you have the young generation, the baby boomers, the Luke, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford. These are baby boomers, and they look like baby boomers. They're fighting this war, and you have the older generation of rebels who, to me, even that guy, Red Leader, he talks with a little bit of a draw.
I love him.
Those are the kind of guys. That's to me, that's a John Wayne manifestation of the imagination for George Lucas. The older generation sounds like this. They're tall, they're big, they're imposing. They're the good guys. They fought. They're the greatest generation. If you watch the Battle of Yavin, the greatest generation of rebels are shot apart one by one, and the only ones left are the baby boomer pilots. And in Star Wars, they win the war.
Yeah.
So it's a positive self-image for a whole generation of men and women who were kind of stuck with this stigma of being part of a bad war. And yet, when you watch Star Wars, the young guys come through. They defeat the Empire, and I think it was subconscious, but I think it was a thing that a lot of baby boomer in the audience needed to see. They're heroes. They get the medal. They get the award. And so when I watch it, I see that. I see Red Leader as John Wayne in space, the leader of the rebels, the old guys, and one by one, the old guys disappear, and it's up to the young guys. And this time, the young guys come through and save.
Darth Vader's in the fight, guys. He's about to be in the fight. Oh God!
And that's one of the most famous scenes of all time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And there's Gold Leader, who just passed away, by the way. Gold Leader, the actor, just passed away.
Oh, no.
And he's in Rogue One. They repurposed footage from Star Wars to put him in the Battle of Scarif, which I love. Yeah, that's great stuff. Interesting. Charles Reckless said Red Leader may have been in the Clone Wars, which would be really cool. That's what I'm saying. There's an older generation of warriors in the rebellion.
Yes.
Reminiscent of the greatest generation. And then you've got these young guys who are coming in, and they're the ones who have to save the day. It's the young guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. And here's Vader, the greatest pilot of all time, with the Force as his ally. just picking these
Just
guys off.
wrecking stuff up, man. Wow.
And I love that those little clips, that clip of him looking over his shoulder. I love it. It
Yeah.
scares you. There's a
Yeah.
sense of urgency and survivalism
Yeah.
when you're looking over someone's bearing down on you. It's a
Yeah.
predator is about to get you. So it drives home
Ah.
some of the urgency in these scenes.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I do. I love that.
We've analyzed their attack, sir, and there is a danger. Evacuate?
It's like, how dare you? Leave my sight at once.
This is base 1. Keep your group out of range. So he's telling the young guys, keep your guys out of range for this next attack.
Yeah.
The big dogs are going in.
Yeah.
So,
and that's good because he wants them to be safe while this is happening. Because if they get too close, they could get hit.
So there's Red Leader. So understand what this is. Here's your number 1 warrior. He's the old man in the battle, right?
And you can imagine how many wars or battles he's fought.
Right.
To get here, that he's Red Leader.
Right. He's a general who leads from the front. So he's in the trenches, literally, and he's leading this attack. Red Leader himself. And he's going in, and this is the guy this is the guy the rebellion wants.
Yeah.
To be leading this right now. And here they come. Yeah. But here comes Darth Vader, the apex leader of the the bad guys, and he's got his 2 bodyguards right behind him. And here we go. Red Leader's team of defenders is going down.
Yeah, he's picking them off one by one.
Almost there. I can't hold them.
Oh, no.
So that's it.
Red
Leader keeps his cool.
Yeah.
Fires the shot.
And lifts up.
It's away. And I love it. There's danger to the Empire here. There's something satisfying about seeing the Empire shake a little bit.
Yeah.
Just impacted on the surface. So Red 1 is pulled out, and Vader's bearing down on him. This is my point. The older generation who you on a battlefield, you just take their presence for granted. They're leading you. They've got it. They know what to do. And here,
Red Leader, you were the awesomest. Let's pour one out for Red Leader. He was amazing.
My homie. So Red 1 goes down. You've got this handful of farm boys.
Yeah.
They're all that this is the only answer the rebellion has now.
Yeah.
These young recruits, the handlebar mustaches from the 70s. I love these guys. You know,
Reg and Biggs on his side there.
Yep. And their strategy is we're going to go faster. That's Luke's plan. Luke, at that speed, will you be able to pull out in time? And he's like, it's like Beggar's Canyon back home. So he's hearkening to a childhood skill.
Yeah.
You know, not military training. This is a boy's skill on a BMX bike or a skateboard, something you've done a million times.
And what I love about this is that he sees this complicated mission as something as simple as playing a game he used to play and win at from back home. So it's like it's fun for him in a way, you know, even though the stakes are high. This is something he's done this before.
Right. And that gives him hope. I can do this. I got this. Right. And that's what you want. And there, Wedge has to bail out. Let him go.
I know when Biggs is still there. Come on, Biggs. I wish you had left at this point.
You know, even crazier, my dad had one of his best friends growing up was a guy named Irv, and he looks just like Biggs.
Oh, yeah?
So it's probably what gave me the idea that these are, in fact, stand-ins for baby boomers.
Yeah.
And Biggs goes down here, and this one's sad, right? Wait.
Biggs.
He wasn't ready to go, and he goes anyway. And there's something sad about that.
Yeah.
And this, by the way, is the only time Vader and Luke really bump into each other in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Vader is Leia's villain, and then Obi-Wan's arch nemesis. But this is all Vader and Luke we get. Force is strong with this one. Luke stays the course. This is actually very heroic of Luke. He's got no bodyguards, no guards to help, no escort.
Yeah.
You've got an accomplished Imperial squadron that's wiped out the entire rebellion on
All
your
right.
tail.
Luke is starting to believe, he's like, okay, I believe in this thing. I'm going to actually do this on my own.
Now, this is archetypal. This is called
Yeah.
the return of the guide
Yeah.
in the hero's
And
journey.
and if you notice the body language of all the people that were like at the base, they were like, man, we lost. We lost
Yeah,
this. He's not even using his his guidance at this point. We're gonna lose this one.
right. And Luke loses his part of his supernatural help. The Death Star is cleared to fire, and so the return of the guide is very important. Happens all the time in storytelling, and I think it's profound and vital and important. And I think it reflects something that happens in real life. So the return of the guide, the guide is dead, but somehow the guide comes back. How many
Yes.
of us in life can hear the voice of a former mentor or teacher who's no?
Ooh, yeah, here he is, Han Solo to the rescue. Woo! Oh, this is one of my favorite parts. Oh, wait, Doug, we can't hear you. Uh-oh. 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 Ah! Woo! That is a beautiful explosion. I- Oh no, we lost Doug. I'm sure he will try to come back. Let's see. Doug says the strong wasn't strong enough for me. Oh my goodness. And the celebration. Oh, okay. Doug's back. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, poor
So
R2. Oh, wait.
poor R2. Yeah, I feel like Vader took me out.
Yeah. Yep, that was Vader. Your former master and your creator. He tried to
Only
kill
the
you.
master of evil, Retro.
Oh yes, only the master of evil. Look, everybody got cleaned up and they look great.
And this is a great ending. This is classic. It's funny. I've read feminist takes on the hero's journey, and they're some of them are laughably awful, by the way. And they're always like, "Yeah, the hero's got to get himself a medal." And I'm like, "You're thinking about it backwards. The hero's goal isn't to get the medal. The hero's goal is to be substantive, to be not expendable to his culture, to be valuable and worthy, and to do something that is worth a medal. To commit to a course of so the medal is a byproduct of heroic actions, not a
Yeah,
shallow motivation for the hero.
yeah.
And of
And
course,
everyone,
who gives these guys their medal?
yes, the
Princess Leia.
princess. She has the
It was her
authority
fault.
to do so. Yeah, she has the authority to give out medals.
Yeah, in a lot of
Han Solo
stories.
gives her a little wink. I love
Yeah, yeah. John's like, hey, pretty good,
that.
huh? Luke's a little impatient here. And I like how she
Yeah.
looks at these guys like, excuse me, wow, right here. Look at her. I love that.
And
She
all
looks
the
at him like,
now
whoa.
C3PO is nice and shiny now.
It's nice to see him cleaned up, right?
Yeah, now we know why too. He's cleaned up because they're getting some good treatment and they won the battle.
Yep, they did. And this is
And
classic
also,
hero's journey. The culture recognizes the heroes as
mhm.
worthy people, not expendable. The hero
Oh,
grapples with expendability in his story, and the medal says, "You're not expendable. We needed you. Our culture needed you."
oh yes.
That's great. So satisfying. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Chewie did not get the medal. We might as well reopen that wound.
Hold on a second. Um,
Man, that was
okay.
absolutely satisfying.
That was. Let me ask you a question. Do you still have a window open for yourself in another area? Because it still has you on board, and I think that's. Oh, there we go. Whatever
Okay, I did.
happened?
I was open twice. I don't
Oh,
know what
okay, yes.
happened. I don't normally have these technical problems, but
Oh, it's
plagued me
fine.
today.
Yeah, it's fine because the last couple of weeks I've been having so many technical issues and it's just been crazy. But I wanted to talk about the award
Yeah,
situation. And I understand those arguments about awards and what they may mean in the hero's journey, but if we think about our own lives, right now we're about to walk into award season for actors and actresses.
right.
And I think it's very, very important to give awards to people who are doing high achievements in the world. And so, if by chance that person, whatever gender it is, that they get an award, it's not I would say, gender related thing. It's just I think this is one of the few movies where you do kind of get this sort of interesting moment of sort of a triumph for these characters after all that they've been through. They deserve an award for. I mean, in the case of Luke actually losing his parents and
Yeah,
saving the day, saving the lives of trillions of people.
yeah,
That he is now has entered his hero moment. He should be able to enjoy that with a medal. And and of course, Moonbeam mentions Mark thinks that Chewie deserved a medal, and that
Chewie
was
did it.
and that was something that was omitted from the droids, and Chewie did not get a medal, and I didn't mind that they didn't, because this medal I thought was specifically about what they were doing in the story. I thought Han did a lot more, but Chewie, I think he was sort of the sidekick to Han, and probably deserved a medal.
Yeah,
And I mean, it would have been nice, but I don't think it was something to make a big deal out of. But
yeah. It certainly
uh,
wasn't to me something that I'm going to get hung up on. But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in talking about like medals or awards, um, the hero's journey is not a small thing. For a
Mm,
hero to take this on. I've studied heroines in depth, as many of you know, but I've also studied many heroes, and I have to say, the hero's journey is a traumatic experience for a heroes. They they leave their home and they face annihilation from a terrible
annihilation.
overpowering militant force.
Yeah.
And we have to remind ourselves, for every hero that comes back and gets a medal, there are so many heroes that don't come back. So the hero's journey mirrors, in a
Ooh,
lot of ways, the hunter warrior's journey. Whether it's the hunter
yes.
going out for food, leaving the safety of the cave, and trying to bring something back to the tribe, and this could be a male or a female, by the way, or the soldier leaving home in a war scenario. Um, there's a reason why a soldier can get a PTSD. This is not a shallow journey for
Mhm,
someone to
mhm,
take. So when
mhm,
the hero survives and accomplishes something that's important like this and saves the culture and
mhm.
gets a medal, that medal is earned because the hero on the journey faces something that I have zeroed in on called expendability. Soldiers deal with this too. You are expendable. We're going to send you across this field into machine gun fire, and it's this is a catastrophic choice that we're going to
Yes,
make because a
yes.
lot of you are going to get annihilated, and we know this. But we're going to go anyway. You're going to go anyway. You're going to get up out of
Mhm.
that trench. You're going to charge over there. And you're going to try to get that bunker, whatever it is. So you're expendable, and a
Yes,
soldier, a warrior, a hero has to deal with this. And
yeah,
so when you survive and accomplish the mission and they give you a medal, there's a sense of that expendability being absolved in you and that you're worthy. You become worthy. And it's
yes.
not uncommon in stories for a feminine character to grant that worthiness to the male um, uh, hero or the heroic figure.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you'll see that the worthiness, the great deeds that the hero commits to and succeeds at makes him worthy of not only the medal, but often a bride, which means not as a prize, but it means he is worthy of a relationship
Mm-hmm.
to an apex character like Princess Leia. You know, if you catch her
Okay.
attention, you must have done something pretty impressive. And of course, Han, you know, they both adopted her cause to fight
Yes.
for the rebellion, and so they have become worthy at the end of Star Wars, and that's an important thing. So anyway, I just want to stress, you know, you'll hear a lot of criticism about the hero's journey, and some people refer to it as shallow or stupid or medal chasing, and I completely disagree with that. And just wanted to have a vote of confidence in the hero's journey and what it means to be a hero. It's not necessarily all fun and games. So
Yeah.
anyway,
And
Star
I
Wars.
think and I think also too, we think of the hero's journey as just of course, just stories, but this is and we try to apply them to real life. But I think if you did, like how you explained it just now about the real facts about going into war and being a soldier and what heroes are supposed to do, it really puts it in perspective a lot more. Especially if you realize, a character like Biggs didn't make it. Didn't make it.
He doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Red
And
Leader didn't make it.
Red Leader,
Organs.
the one, the one that was the veteran, guy that was supposed to have done the job, and it just didn't make it in there. He followed through it, all of that, survived Darth Vader's initial attack, and was able to at least try to put off one shot. Didn't make it. And that's the brutal facts of war, and we're talking about Star Wars here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do like that idea. I always love that scene at the end. Never
Yeah.
had a problem with it. Jack says, oh, Sherry Lee says, awesome as always. Thank you, Sherry Lee. And Jack says, great watch, guys. Science fiction was a popular genre. What Star Wars did was mint vaults of money. Studio management took note. We got this because Lucas couldn't get the rights to Flash Gordon. Yeah.
Correct, Jack. That's 100%
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
We even mentioned that's where the opening scroll came from, was from the Flash Gordon serials.
Yes, which I absolutely love. And Keithy says, retro, you need to play. Thank you
Oh, that's right.
For Marvel. Yes. Okay. So, I do have. Let's see if I can find it. I don't want to lose my spot here too. Let's see if I can. I'll do this, and let's see if I can get. Um, Here we go. And here's a big, big thank you to Marvel Gate of Marvel for the 5 memberships that are so very important to the channel, and we really appreciate it. Let's see if I can get a great thank you. Here's one. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I really appreciate
awesome.
it. And let's see if I can find my place back on the live. Oh, let's
Gate
see
of
if I have
Marble.
it. Yes, so
For you, buddy. That was
thankful.
awesome.
So
Yeah, and
thankful.
it's interesting. They're talking about the award season of 1977, where Star Wars really didn't. John Williams did not win Best Score, which is almost impossible to believe. Star Wars, I think, was nominated for Best Picture, but it lost, I believe, to Annie Hall, if memory serves. But it did win like some editing awards or sound editing, and of course, it deserved that. But I think, in retrospect, we can all agree that Star Wars was underrepresented in the awards season that year.
Yeah, I mean, much like the superhero movie of today, like you're probably not gonna get a a science fiction award, award for science fiction film back then. It's starting to like loosen up a little bit, but I think right now, but back then in the 70s, you gave it to dramas.
Oh,
Dramas were,
I'm going to stand corrected on yes. By the way, that's why Sigourney Weaver didn't win for Aliens.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
even in 1986, they were still a little hesitant to reward science fiction works for the prestige categories.
yeah.
But Star Wars did win art direction, costume design, film editing, original score. So I'm wrong. John Williams did win, and he should have. Sound and visual effects. And then, of course, there's a special achievement award for Benjamin Burt Jr. for creating the alien creature and robotic voices. All of those were obviously earned. So Star Wars did get some awards in that season.
Yes, awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's see. Joseph Begay says, by that thought, every pilot who survived the battle deserved the medal, but would have been a long ending. Yes, they probably did off screen. Just imagine.
Yeah. I do imagine that they were all honored,
Yeah.
but there were very
Uh,
few survivors in the Battle of Yavin. Not many
yeah, there,
came
yeah,
back.
I think, I think, who was the just Wade?
Wedge,
Who
Wedge,
was
Luke,
Wedge?
and
Wedge is
Han,
the
and
only
Chewie.
one who survived, yeah, from the trench run.
And
And
Wedge makes it all the way to Return of the Jedi.
oh yeah, yeah. Kimberly Ann Hart's here. Hey, Kimberly, how are you? Says, I remember crying from the Force Awakens movie. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Um, I had a moment with Force Awakens, but it was because of I thought I thought they had something there, and they didn't.
Well,
Um,
they made an IOU with that movie. They're basically saying we know what we're doing. We've set up a story. Here's the beginning, and
yeah.
it felt familiar. It felt like Star Wars. I always try to remind people that if you dial back the clock, like today we all hate, or not, I shouldn't say we all, but a lot of people don't like the sequel trilogy. I knew it wasn't going to stand the test of time. I have my own little metrics, and I knew this was going to be a disaster,
Yeah.
and it is a disaster. But in 2015, The Force Awakens was mostly well received. It's the highest grossing film in US history. I think it's the second highest grossing film in global history. It certainly looked and felt iconic. Rey seemed to be a future predecessor or a
Yeah.
successor
Yeah,
for Luke.
definitely.
I actually liked Finn a lot. So people mostly liked it.
Yeah, no,
You
it
didn't
had
blow it.
that. Yeah. Yeah, and there was a moment where I had a moment where I was like, "Oh, this is why I like Star Wars." And then when I rewatched the movie, I was like, wait a minute. There's a lot of stuff. I had second thoughts after I saw it. It wasn't one that got me every time. Like this movie gets me every time. Every
Every
time
time.
that the Death Star blows up, I'm like,
By the way, The Force
wow.
Awakens is almost unwatchable. I would say it
It's
is
hard.
unwatchable.
It's
So
hard, yeah.
in the summer, when the kids have a lot of extra time, we'll watch trilogies and we watched Star Wars last year, starting with Episode 1. So we start with Episode 1, then 2, 3, all the way on. And by the end of Return of the Jedi, the kids are like, "Which one's next?" I was like, "Nothing." There's no point. There's nothing. There's nothing in it for us to watch Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and The Rise of Sky. There's nothing there. There's no story. There's nothing to tell. There's nothing there. And
Mm,
so I remember watching Force Awakens one time, and I realized it's unwatchable because I was like, "Yeah,
they never
there's
follow
no,
through with the storyline.
yeah,
And that's
there's no payoffs. It's a bunch of
yeah,
setup with no payoffs, and so there's
yeah.
nothing there."
Yeah, that was my thing, was like, I was like, "Oh, this is really gonna be great if they can, follow through with this." And it didn't follow through with any of the things that were set up. And Paul N says, I think Chewie not getting a medal is a representation. I love this, of how there are people that do great work, but they don't receive the recognition that they deserve. Oh, so
Agreed.
well said. Well said. And Kimberly says, I miss the Solo character. So good. And Kimberly says, this was fun, RNG. So good. And Paul N says, good night, everyone. Oh, you're ready to get going? I should too. I should get going to my next big event, which I really want to make sure to let everybody know. Give me one second.
And I'll point out, so The Matrix and Star Wars are great hero's journey stories and usually pointed to a lot. I'd love to point out that both movies start with a heroine breaking the truce with their native culture and dealing with the law enforcement arm of their native culture. And the hero is then brought in later. So I just wanted to point out that interesting similarity between The Matrix and A New Hope. Yes. Princess Leia leads us into Star Wars, and Trinity leads us into The Matrix.
Oh, yes. I mean, yeah, she ever does. Like, wow.
Yeah, I love our heroines. I have a great appreciation for them and their different approach to heroism, which is incredible.
And Shirley says, nice job, RNG and DAB, who we know as the Dabster. The Dabster. And let's see. And Kimberly Earhart says sits with RNG. Oh wow. And
very cool. I've got DJ Knight sitting over here.
Yeah. So we're in good company. And Keith E says, Retro, thank you for Marvel. Marvel.
What he meant was Gates of Marvel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, Gates of Marvel. Gate of Marvel.
I think it was an auto correct.
Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you so much, Keithy. We got it. And Jack says, remember watching the 1977 Academy Award and booing that Star Wars only won Best Editing and learned that the film probably was saved in the editing room. That was a metal urn. Oh no. And yeah, there may be a lot of areas where the movie could have gotten awards. And Jerry says, yeah, the Academy Award snubbed Lucas and Spielberg. And let's see, what else I want to get zoom down. Rick says liminal space in Flash Gordon 1981. Earthling heroes passed out before sleeping in a capsule from Earth to Mongo. Wonderful from earlier conversation I heard in the car. So great. Thanks for teaching me that.
Rick. I'm going to remember that one for an example. A lot of times I love to memorize examples. That's a great one. But there's this weird relationship in stories between entering liminal space and the subconscious and a subconscious hero or heroine. So there's something there. I don't think I figured it out yet why, but the heroes are there's some sort of dream state transition that writers intuitively add into these stories.
Yes, I'm loving that you found that. That's just great. And let's see. And Joseph says, time to get busy and make some fried bread for tonight. Ooh, stomach growling. Sounds interesting. I never had fried bread before. And Charles Radcliffe says, Retro Nerd Girl, I will see you at the Matrix. Okay, yes. I will just like, I'm getting into the Matrix.
But will you take the red pill or the blue, Charles?
Always, red pill.
Always, we'll see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Yes. And Joseph Gay says, good night, all. Listen to the rest on my tablet in the kitchen. Awesome. So glad you were able to join us, Joseph Gay. You're amazing. And and Gates of Marvel says, Marvel is cool. It's green. And Movie says, I was late because I needed to amp the force, and I made it when they were in the trash compactor. Oh, awesome.
Well, we needed you at that point.
So glad to see you. Yes. And Dumpster Fryer says, I had a lovely time here, guys. Found Doug's commentary really useful for my own writing ideas. Oh, awesome.
I care about that more than anything.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want to inspire people to create awesome stories like they did, like Luke's, like Lucas did with this movie, creating such an interesting lore of characters and a fantastic world. Thank you so much for watching with us
I
and
love hearing that.
sharing that. Yeah, sharing that with us. Um, let's see. Before we go, too, I want to also share Douglas's YouTube channel. So when he starts making YouTube videos, you guys can catch it. And let me see.
I'll be meeting with Retro tomorrow to talk a little bit about that.
Yes. And Rick says, I love learning about the named elements in the hero's journey and storytelling. Thank you.
Great.
Yes. Yes.
They're
And
fascinating.
yeah.
It's like dream interpretation or something. It's usable. If you have the creative spirit, you can use these in your stories, and what it does to your stories will shock you. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And yes, okay, so I've got that.
Yeah.
Gimli Ann says they removed Ray from the 20. Yeah, I mean I don't, and not a lot of people wanted that, so I could see
Nothing against
why.
Daisy Ridley, but
No, she's
unfortunately, Ray is
fantastic.
attached to those sequel trilogies, and those sequel trilogies were mishandled by Lucasfilm. And so I feel like Daisy Ridley is suffering unfairly as a consequence.
I
But
think
no
so.
ill feelings toward her at all.
No, she's really a solid actress. And Jack says, speaking of credit deserved, David Prowse. Yes, the man behind the mask. His story is the only dark thing in this series. The only dark thing this series has produced was not even told he was dubbed. Oh, yeah,
I heard about
yeah,
that. Yeah, and
yeah,
if you watch the footage where he's doing the talking, it does sound really weird, especially knowing what Darth Vader sounds like now. It's like
yes.
it was like a higher pitched English accent voice. However, I do want to say, in the spirit of what Jack is talking about, I have recently, I would say in the last 10 years or so, really come to appreciate David Prowse more and more. His
Oh,
physicality
yes.
with Darth Vader really is important. In fact, I thought one of the big mistakes, and now I've softened my position on Hayden Christensen over the years, like many people, but one I thought the big mistakes was that Hayden Christensen completely lacked that physicality that David Prowse had. There's a big man's physicality there, and you can't fake it as a little guy. I know, I
Yeah.
am a little guy. So, there's a certain physicality that a big man has, especially if he's got that sort of like intimidating authority as a natural part of his persona. You
Hmm.
can't fake that. And that's why
Hmm.
people listen to those guys and follow those guys into war, because they have something. And David Prowse had that something.
Hmm.
And he brought it to Darth Vader. Even like watch Empire Strikes Back, even the way Darth Vader looks at someone or spins around and marches off. Dude, that's a sort of physicality and presence that you can't do. You can't teach that to somebody.
Yeah.
So
But it's an
that's David
interesting,
Prowse.
yeah, it is. He definitely brought something very intimidating and strong to the character. But I would like to say that I really enjoyed, Christian Haydenson's version of
Yeah.
Darth
Well,
Vader,
he had
and
the emotionalism that was
yeah, and
very effective.
oh yeah, and I think even like he even grew into it more. Because even though the Obi-Wan series was not perfect, I think his portrayal of Darth Vader in that was like, I was like, ooh, it just really piqued
Yeah.
my, and
I didn't realize how
he's
much I had softened my position until I saw him again in the Obi-Wan series. I don't
mm.
like that series, but I love seeing Hayden Christensen return as the
Oh, and
Padawan with
also Ahsoka.
I,
Oh,
now listen, I don't think Ahsoka was that good of a show either,
yes,
but
but
I think it was
he was
episode
great.
5. Episode 5 he came in, and I loved Hayden Christensen and Ahsoka, and I don't care what anyone says. I love the scene of him marching off into liminal space, by the way,
Yeah.
into the mist, where there's a flashing light. You could see the image of Darth Vader, and as it
Oh,
flashes
yeah.
back, it's Hayden Christensen again. He's
That
marching
was
off to his
incredible.
destiny, and I loved it.
Yes, it was
I'm not
fantastic.
apologizing for it.
You don't have to. Gate of Marvel says, "Good night, Happy New Year to all. Onward to the Matrix." And let's see. And Moonbeam says Han Solo translate to man alone. Nice. Which is basically his character. And I think you weren't there when I said, it was very interesting and telling that Princess Leia just summed up Han Solo right away when she called him Flyboy. She's like, oh, okay, Flyboy,
Yeah.
get in the garbage chute. I was like, oh, she's got your number. And she had just met him within like minutes. And
Yeah,
just,
I'll have to dig up. I have Gone with the Wind. I'll have to find the pages, but Rhett Butler, I think George Lucas reimagined Rhett Butler as Han Solo. They're both smugglers. They're both smugglers, and there's even dialogue in Gone with the Wind that Rhett Butler says in the book that sounds almost identical to dialogue that Han Solo says.
Oh, okay. We need to. Okay, that is a Doug and Retro project. We're gonna do that for movie talk for sure. I think that would be a great project for us. Okay, Jack also says we'll be back for Empire next week. Thank you so much for joining us today, and definitely we'll see you next week. This is going to be so much fun. I love that there is so much participation, so much engagement, with you guys, and I'm so glad you guys like this kind of conversation we're having. And I'm just gonna zoom down just a little bit because we have now a crunch on time. We're on a time crunch. Gate of Murmur, funny to see Prowse without an A.
Without
Clockwork
Darth Vader suit in a Clockwork Orange.
Oh yes, he was in that.
He's the bodybuilder in a Clockwork Orange.
Okay. Oh wow,
He's just a regular guy, but he's huge.
Yeah. I have to see that. And Jack says, in a clockwork, he carries a man in a wheelchair like it was a backpack.
Yeah.
He's a big guy. And Rick says, as a child, I thought Han was dismissive and mean towards C-3PO. Yes, there's some he almost ignores him in so many scenes, but the only person who really treats C-3PO and with any kind of respect is I would say Luke. He does seem to have a softer way with the droids, and after years of interacting with more than with after getting after interacting more and more with machines that talk, I get it. Oh, Rick, I hope that changes.
So Rick's like, goldenrod when he's talking to Siri or Alexis.
Yeah. And I love the dialogue between C-3PO and Han Solo in the next movie too.
Oh, yeah.
Movie
says, antagonistic.
Yeah, I just love it. And Moonbeam says David Prowse, Sebastian Shaw, and James Earl Jones have joined the force. Oh,
yes, they have.
And can we for a moment talk about the legendary James Earl Jones's voice for this character and how incredibly intimidating. We have the intimidating look with David Prowse, and then we have got the intimidating voice.
Yeah, the physicality from David Prowse,
so perfect.
The intimidating look from Ralph McQuarrie, and the incredibly intimidating voice from James Earl Jones. I mean, 3 home runs.
Yes, and then the iconic music that accompanies him. That Imperial March is very close to him whenever he walks into a room, and it's just like it sets the pace for don't mess with this guy. He could choke you out.
Yeah, there's a clip I've seen on social media of a man playing the opening to A New Hope, and the dog hides behind the chair when Vader comes in on the Tantive 5 in the opening sequence. The dog's like, it gets behind the chair. I was like, even the dog knows to be scared of this guy.
That's so hilarious. Oh my God. Yeah, don't mess with Darth Vader. The most intimidating character in the galaxy. And Shari Lee says, so many great comments in the chat room today. it really was really fantastic. So thank you everyone who left comments and left memories. Again, if you know, once this is done and you know we're it becomes a recording that you can come back to in the replay, definitely leave your comments, whoever's watching this in the replay, and tell us about your first time seeing the movie, what you first thought about it, and any other related fun things that you have to say about this. This is a conversation I want to keep going. And Moonbeam says Mark Hamill, she's no damsel in distress. So true.
Right. Yeah, you know, a heroine can get herself into trouble, and it doesn't make her a damsel in distress. What you don't want is a heroine that has no agency.
Yes, and she really does have a lot of more than. I mean, she's the one who's giving out the awards. I mean, come on. I mean,
A New Hope is half her story. In fact, I'd almost make the case that A New Hope is very strongly her story.
yeah,
That
it
Luke
is.
and Han jump into.
Yeah. George Lucas said that. He confirmed that. He says Lorena Creole is going to have a watch party for Spaceballs. Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're gonna be there for that one too. And Sean Brown says, I love that line from Chasing Amy. Darth Vader is the blackest brother of the galaxy. That's really funny, Sean Brown. And Chasing Amy is an very underrated film by Kevin Smith, and I did a review for it. That's how good it was. I mean, and it's not even the genre I dance in. Is all I say. And let's see. Let's keep going. I'm just gonna zoom down. We got like and Jack says there's a reason Darth Vader gets his own song in the next film. Yes, yes. And
one of the greatest songs ever. I have some commentary on that, but I'm gonna wait. I'll hold it for Empire Strikes Back.
okay, yes, because that is going to be next week, guys. Empire Strikes Back, and you can see the entire lineup for all of the watch parties coming up on my channel under the live tab. There's a lot coming. That's going to be a lot of fun. I hope to see you there. And Moonbeam says Leia just needed them to get her out of the cell, and then she takes charge. Yeah, she does kind of do that. You know, she's like, I love when she does that. Actually, I think so too. Moonbeam says Leia is a strong female character done right in this story. She's totally done right. I mean, she doesn't. I think if there is a character which I've grown to love even more and more and more, even though I loved her so much back then, it's Princess Leia. I think you know we are recognizing her. We are recognizing her value more and more, and which is really incredible to see how it's recontextualizing as we're looking at her as a story component. It's just really cool. Well, guys, I think we better get going because I need a small break before going to Lorena Creole's watch party. It's going to be fantastic. I left a link for it in the chat. But I do hope that you guys will be able to join us and definitely join us next week. Do you have anything going on for yourself, Doug, at this point in time?
So I am getting I left the YouTube channel go for a little bit as I kind of had a misstart, but I'm getting that all back on track. I'm really looking forward to launching the YouTube channel. The Heroines Labyrinth was longlisted for an award that is kind of a tough, the big awards are coming now. The easier awards, I guess you could call them, took place in the in the end of 2024. But it's the Chanticleer Award or the Chanticleer Award for nonfiction for insight or innovation, and the Heroines Labyrinth was longlisted on it. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm hoping it can go really far in the contest. So we'll see.
Yes, awesome. I mean, you're just raking up all of the awards. I now have to mention that you are a multi-award winning author now, and this is just great. I'm so glad that you're getting your flowers, and it's just again more accolades to come because of the it's interesting to present an idea, but an idea that you can see repeated over and over again in the findings of watching movies and reading stories and discovering, oh my God, this is what Doug's talking about, and there it is right there, and there it is right there, and there. It's very, very impressive. So I'm just really honored to know you, and definitely that you're hanging out with us is just like
Oh, I love
another
hanging out with you guys.
another
Retro, I'm
cherry on
honored to know you.
Stop it. And everybody in the chat, just so glad that everybody was here. Have a fantastic day, everybody. I think the only thing I think I could tell you that's coming up for the channel is definitely all the live streams coming up and everything else. Oh, and see, this is my alarm telling me I gotta go over to Lorena Creole's channel.
The Death Star has cleared the planet, Retro.
Oh my gosh. So without further ado, everyone, I bid you adieu, and I hope that you have a fantastic day. I hope you get to join me over on Lorena Creole's channel. Take care, everybody.
Retro Nerd Girl, you are clear for takeoff.
In the neon light she stands, retro girl with nerd comments. Memory lane, she takes your hand to the past where good times land. Pixels glow and screens do hum. Hear the beat of retro drum. Geeks unite, oh here we come. Nerdy world where we're from. Retro logo leads the way. In the night to yesterday. All the nerds come out to play. She's the light, won't go away. Film and movies on rewind. Good old days in nerdy mind. Retro nerd girl you will find, guiding us all intertwined. Joystick games and cosmic fights. Wonders days and sleepless nights. With her everything feels right. Retro glow in neon lights. Joystick games and cosmic fights. Wonders days and sleepless nights. With her everything feels right. Retro glow in me.